Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto abandoned by his family when he gets crippled. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. October 10th, Naruto's birthday. Oh, how he hated that day. 7 years ago, Namikaze Minato, Yondaime Hokage, sealed the great demon lord Kyuubi into Naruto's stomach. Minato wished for Naruto to be treated like a hero, but the villagers didn't obey. They glared at him, called him hateful words, beat him and sold him rotten food for double or triple the price. The beatings were worse on his birthday, the Kyuubi festival. Right now a bunch of villagers, civilians and shinobi, had broken down his door and gave him a savage beating. Hey guys, this little demon wants to become a ninja. One of the shinobis said, a woman with ruby red eyes who obviously had been drinking quite a bit, judging by the smell, said and pulled out a kunai. How about we eliminate his chance of that, huh? She asked, getting nods and wicked smiles from the others. They held onto Naruto's arms and legs and held him down. The woman, Yuhi Kurani, crouched down. This is for my parents, she thought before making a quick slash across his left eye. Naruto screamed in agony. She moved from his left eye to his right leg. Naruto watched in horror as she proceeded to saw his leg off at the knee. The procedure was agonizing. She made sure to make every movement of the knife as painful as possible. After she was done with the right leg, she moved on to the left. After that, his left arm at the elbow. Inside its cage, the Kyuubi squirmed. This is bad. I can heal cuts and stabs but not eyes or severed limbs, he thought. During the 7 years of imprisonment, it had come to respect the kid. Living through all those beatings without breaking. Just when she was about to saw off his right arm, a guy at the door shouted a warning. The Hokage is coming. Let's get out of here, he shouted, making everyone at the apartment either run out the door or shunshun away, leaving Naruto in a bloody heap on the floor. The Hokage came into Naruto's living room with a full Anbu squad behind him. He saw the boy, he fell to his knees and cried, "Naruto!" He sobbed and crawled towards the boy. He picked him up and turned to the Anbu. "Find the ones who did this." A chorus of "Hi" came from the Anbu before they shunshined away. The Hokage took Naruto to the hospital to a doctor who didn't hate him. Hana Retsu saw the mutilated boy and immediately rushed him to the emergency room. After 15 long minutes, she came out with a sad look on her face. "How is he?" the Hokage asked. "His eye is beyond repair and so is his arm and leg, as you've probably guessed. He suffered from stab wound on his upper body, but those were not fatal. He is in a coma right now," she said quietly, making the Hokage's eyes widen. "You can go see him if you'd like." Sarutobi walked into Naruto's room and cried the moment he saw the boy. It would have been a beautiful sight seeing the boy sleeping peacefully if it wasn't for the severed limbs. Sarutobi walked up to the small child and placed a hand on his forehead. "I'll find a way to make it better. I'll help you," he said before leaving. A week passed without Naruto waking up. The Hokage could be seen looking through scrolls in his office, the library and the hospital. He was heartbroken. Becoming a ninja, and later Hokage, was his entire life. It was, to him, his only way of getting the villagers to acknowledge him. How the hell was Sarutobi supposed to be able to fix the boy's arm and legs? He lifted a scroll and under it he found an opened bingo book. Name: Akasuna no Sasori. Age: N.A. Rank: S. Bloodline: none. Crimes: wanted for defecting from Suna and violating Suna's laws by making human puppets. That was as much as Sarutobi read before jumping out of his chair while grabbing an empty scroll. He started writing frantically before rolling it up and calling for a Chunin. "Get this to Suna as fast as possible," he told the Chunin, who nodded and poofed away. "I just hope she isn't still angry with Konoha," he muttered before sitting down, lighting his pipe. Meanwhile, Kurani was in trouble. She was having an inner battle with herself. That demon deserved what he got, she thought with a nod. "How do you know he's a demon?" said a voice in her head that sounded like a wizened elder. "He is. Look at those whisker marks. No human could just get whisker marks like that," she thought back. Really? They could be something from his clan or just birthmarks or a sign of him being the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi. "Look at the Hyugas. Are they demons because their eyes aren't like ours?" the voice asked, making Kurani contemplate its words carefully while thinking of a comeback. "He is a demon. There is no information of who his errands are or anything. He just showed up on the same day that the Kyuubi was killed. Maybe his parents had a reputation? Maybe they had to protect him from assassins. Do you have so little faith in the Sandaime and Yondaime? No, Yondaime-sama is our hero. And yet you doubt his skills. What? No, I don't. Then why do you call the child he wanted to be called a hero a demon? Unable to think of a response, she just went to bed. You know that I'm right. The voice said right before she fell asleep. That night she had the worst nightmare in her entire life. She dreamt that it was her lying on the ground having her arm and legs cut off by him, and when they were done the dream started all over again. That happened every night until she was too afraid to go to sleep. A week later Sarutobi was sitting in his office when a Chunin poofed in. Hokage-sama, there is an old lady from Suna at the gates, he said, and Sarutobi nodded before poofing away. He poofed into existence at the gates where an old lady from Suna who goes by the name of Chio, or Chio-ba-sama, was waiting. This better be good, Sarutobi-kun. Chio told the Hokage. What was so important that you couldn't tell me in the letter? Sarutobi sighed. I need you to come see this, he said, and led her to the hospital, or more precisely, Naruto's room. Look at him, Sarutobi said and pointed at Naruto. This is the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi no Kitsune. He was brutally attacked 2 weeks ago and lost his left arm and both legs. The only thing in his life that kept his hopes of acknowledgement from the villagers up was being a ninja and later Hokage. Those dreams were crushed by a mob of drunken villagers on his birthday. I beg of you, please put aside your grudge against Konoha and help this boy, he asked, and got down on his hands and knees, surprising Chio. She thought for a moment. I'll think about it, she said, and walked out of the room, leaving a slightly smiling Sandaime. If tea was one thing he learned through all his years of friendship with Chio, it was that whenever she said, I'll think about it, she usually meant yes. The next day Kurani was sitting in the dango shop with her best friend Anko. You look terrible, Kurani, Anko said while munching on her dango stick. Yeah, well, I haven't gotten much sleep lately, Kurani admitted, making Anko raise an eyebrow. Oh really? How come? That demon is haunting me in my dreams, Kurani said, making Anko growl in anger. Demon? What demon? You don't mean the Kyuubi container, do you? She asked, and Kurani nodded, thinking the growl of anger was a growl of hatred towards the demon. Yes, him. I don't know what he did to me, but I can no longer sleep without having a nightmare, was all she managed to say before getting a hard slap in the face by Anko. Anko? What? I never thought you were as shallow as the villagers, Kurani. But I guess I was wrong. What about me? You consider me a traitorous snake bitch? Don't judge someone without getting to know them first, Anko shouted at Kurani, who just sat there, holding the red mark on her cheek. I can no longer consider you a friend, Kurani. You can come see me when you have come to your senses, she said, and walked away. Inside Naruto's mind, Naruto was not having a good time. He was, just like Kurani, reliving the same thing over and over and over again. Every second was the most painful he'd ever felt. All of a sudden everything froze and his surroundings started to look like a wet painting. The paint started dripping down on the ground, revealing a yellowish wall behind it. His arm and legs also grew back. When all the paint on the walls was gone, the paint on the ground reached his ankles. The paint dissipated to reveal plain water. In front of him was a huge gate. In the middle of the gate was a piece of paper with the kanji for seal on it. Finally, I thought I'd never get through to you, said a deep rumbling voice from behind the bars. Naruto looked up and saw the face of a huge red fox with 9 swirling tails. Who are you? He asked with fear evident in his voice. I am the king of all demons, the strongest of the Biju. I am the great Kyuubi no Kitsune, the fox shouted with pride evident in its voice. Kyuubi? But you're dead. The Yondaime killed you. Ha, like a puny mortal would be able to kill me. No kid, he didn't kill me, he sealed me inside you, Kyuubi said, making Naruto eyes widen. Me? Why would he do that? Why me? He asked with tears in his eyes. Now people, you might say that Naruto would go on a rant about being a demon, but think of it this way. If you was told that you were the container of a demon, by the demon, in front of the demon, would you think that you were a demon? I don't know. I needed to be sealed into a newborn whose chakra coils hadn't developed yet. Maybe you were the only one born that day. Maybe you're his son. Maybe you're his grandson. How should I know? Kyuubi said with a shrug. Wait, how did my arm and legs grow back? Naruto asked. This is your mind, kid. Your physical body was damaged but not your mind. That's why you have your limbs back. So, they're not really back? No. I'm sorry for putting you through this, kid. What the villagers are doing to you is vile, even for me. Not even demons treat their own kin like that unless it's a fight for your position in power. But I'm going to help you. As soon as I find a way to make up for what you have suffered through, I will help you. Kyuubi said, making Naruto smile. Domo arigato Kyuubi-san, Naruto said with a bow. Now since our minds have gotten this close to each other, I am able to establish a link between us so we can talk to each other when you get out of your coma. I need your permission though. Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded. Do it. It'll be nice to have someone to talk to. The Kyuubi nodded before making a movement with its claws as if snapping its fingers. I got it. I know what I can do for you, it said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. Really? What? You are grossly malnourished, kid. I can build up your muscles, enhancing your strength and making you grow a little taller. If I know that old Hokage, which I do since I've been watching everything happen in your life through your eyes, he's going to think of a way to help you achieve your dream. Please do it, Kyuubi-san. Hey, I have a name, you know. Really? Then what is it? Megami. God. S. Naruto said with wide eyes. You're a girl? Yes. Of course I'm a woman. What? You don't think a woman can be the most powerful being on Earth? Kyuubi shouted, making Naruto wince at the volume. Of course I think a woman can be as strong as you are. It's just that with your voice. You don't really sound like a woman. I know. I have to sound like a man. Otherwise no one will take me seriously until I decimate their homes. Kyuubi said with a huff. Is that why you attacked the village? Because you wasn't taken seriously? Naruto asked with disbelief in his voice. No, I attacked because I was forced to. I was sleeping peacefully until that pig of a man Uchiha Madara showed up. He hypnotized me with his Sharingan. I don't know what it is, but something or someone has made his eyes insanely strong. If you ever come up against that man, make sure you never look into his eyes. Kyuubi said, and Naruto nodded. Then he thought of something. Hey, do you mean Uchiha Madara as in the Uchiha Madara who helped Shodai-sama create this village? Yes. How did you know? We read about him once in history class. Naruto said, making the Kyuubi go wide-eyed. Has there actually been a history lesson where you weren't asleep? She asked incredulously. Yes. How could you not know that? I thought you said that you had been watching my life through my eyes. Naruto said, making Megami blush. Luckily for her, Naruto didn't see it because of her red fur covering it up. Well, I usually go to sleep at the same time as you during history class. You find it boring too, huh? Yes, but enough of that. I've managed to put those memories away. You can wake up soon. Though making these changes in your body will hurt. Kyuubi said, making Naruto slump his shoulders. Great. More pain. But at least this time I'm getting something out of it. He said, making Megami grin. Yeah, now close your eyes and I'll get started. She ordered, and Naruto obeyed. Her chakra started swirling around Naruto before it encased him. He took it like a man though. He didn't scream. The removal of his limbs hurt a lot more than that. Meanwhile, outside, Sarutobi was sitting next to Naruto's bed, waiting for him to wake up when he felt the presence of Megami's chakra. He turned to look at Naruto and saw him writhing in pain. He was just about to do something when a shield of chakra shot up around Naruto. He watched in awe as Naruto's body started growing and, surprisingly, changing his hair color. After 5 minutes, the shield lowered. Sarutobi ran up to Naruto to check if there was any sign of the seal being broken. He breathed a sigh of relief when he found the seal still intact. I take it that was the demon's chakra, said a voice from behind him. He turned around to see Chio standing there with a scroll in her hand. I've decided to help, she said before they heard a groan coming from the boy. Am I awake yet? Naruto asked and looked at the stump that used to be his left arm. Apparently I am. Naruto-kun, Sarutobi exclaimed and grabbed the boy in a hug. I'm so glad you're awake. And perfect timing too. This is Chio Basama from Suna. She's a master puppeteer. She will help you gain your limbs back. Maybe not your original limbs, but they're better than nothing. Sarutobi said and gestured for Chio to step forward. Naruto-san, these will be your new limbs. Chio said and opened the scroll before smearing blood on it to reveal a metal left arm and 2 metal legs, like Terminator. I'll let you know the basics of it. Now these limbs are one of a kind. Not only are they metal instead of wood, but they also have their very own chakra system. Normally you would have to use chakra strings to make them move, but these limbs' chakra system connects to your brain, imitating the lost nerves. So basically you have arms that move on chakra instead of muscle power. The only flaw is that you won't be able to move them if you're out of chakra. Since they're fused with you, they will grow with you, so you don't have to worry about it when you grow older. I have also added a few trinkets to help. In your arm I have placed 3 blades, one between each knuckle. On your forearm I have also placed 3 claw-like blades, as you can see in the small slots. All you have to do is push chakra into the blades you want to use. It's basically like Wolverine claws and the spikes Batman has on the side of his forearms, only that they are bigger and reversed. In the legs I placed the 3 blades, claw blades on each shin, the bat blades, and a knee blade, like one of Wolverine's claws. Only bigger. Oh, and by the way, since your arm and legs are powered by chakra, you can just pump more chakra into them to make them stronger. That's pretty much it. They may be too small for you, but like I said, they will grow to the right size when I fuse them with you stumps. She said and gestured for Sarutobi to lay him down on the floor. Sarutobi nodded and did just that. I am now going to fuse your limbs together. It's gonna hurt a bit, she said, and hooked all the limbs to the stumps before performing a couple of hand seals. The smell of burning flesh and molten metal rose from the boy as the arm and legs were fused with his body. Naruto was holding in a scream that would have shattered the window had he let it out. I think the old man said it wrong. I don't think he meant to say it will hurt quite a bit. I think he meant to say it will hurt like a bitch, he thought in agony. It feels like it felt when that woman cut them off. When all was done, he laid there panting on the floor. It's going to take some getting used to, but I think you'll do fine, Shio said and started walking out of the room. Anche, she was at the door. She turned around. Oh, and if you're ever in the neighborhood, please come visit me. I'd like to see how my little project worked out, she said with a smile. Alright, I am greatly in your debt, Chio Basama, Naruto said and returned the smile. It's no problem. It's Sarutobi-kun who is in my debt, she said with a grin before disappearing. This is great, Kyuubi's voice shouted in Naruto's mind. Megami-chan? Naruto thought with a raised eyebrow, making Sarutobi raise his own eyebrow. What's wrong, Naruto-ku? He asked, but was silenced by Naruto holding up his hand. I can't heal lost limbs, but I can flesh and skin, so if you want I can cover up that metal, Megami said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. Really? Do it please, he shouted at Megami in his mind. Alright, just make sure you get back to bed first, Megami told Naruto, who nodded before telling Sarutobi to put him back to bed. Once he was back to bed, Naruto felt a tingling sensation at his elbow and knees. He looked down to see skin slowly spreading across his metal arm and legs. Cool, he said while Sarutobi just stared. How? He asked incredulously. Kyuubi, Naruto answered, making the Hokage go wide-eyed. Why, you can talk to him? He asked Naruto, who raised a finger. Her, I can talk to her. Her? And so Naruto told the Hokage everything Megami had told him. So Madara is still alive after all these years? Sarutobi asked while rubbing his temples. Apparently, Naruto answered with a shrug. He looked down and saw that the skin had finally healed properly. He jumped out of bed only to fall as soon as he landed on the floor. Well, this is going to take some getting used to, he said, and Sarutobi nodded with a chuckle. The next 3 months were spent to learn how to use his new body parts properly. He was glad that he had Megami in his stomach when his bat blades shot into his thigh when he hit himself on the leg in a pissed-off manner. Iruka also dropped by from time to time with his hands full of Ichiraku takeout. Kurani, who had started feeling really down because of Anko refusing to talk to her, had decided to see what the demon, which she now had her doubts about, was doing. When she saw him try to walk with his new legs only to fall down after 3 steps, she started wondering if he really was a demon. Okay, proof of that he is a demon. He's grown and changed his hair color to the Kyuubi's color. Could be the demon doing that on its own without his consent. Whisker marks. Again, could be the demon or something that happened during the sealing. He has his limbs back. Didn't you hear the nurse? The world's most famous puppeteer came and helped him, you idiot. Well, then how can he still be so calm and collected even though he knows that he doesn't have a real arm or legs? Think about it. How many beatings has he suffered through? Too many to count. And I have proof that he is not a demon. Oh yeah? What? What did he do when you severed his limbs? Well, he screamed and cried. Exactly. Demons don't cry. But if he isn't a demon, then I. And that was all it took for her to break down crying in the middle of the street. 1 month later, Naruto had gotten the hang of it slightly when his window opened. Why you? He shouted and fell over when he saw Kurani crouching on the windowsill. Get away from me, he screamed and crawled into a corner. Naruto, please list, she started when she jumped into the room. Help me, Naruto shouted, alerting the 3 Anbu outside who came rushing in with their swords drawn. What's wrong, Naruto? An Anbu with a dog mask asked the terrified child. It's her. She's the one who did this to me. Naruto shouted and pointed at the wide-eyed Kurani. Naruto, please listen to me, she said, but was interrupted by 2 Anbu, one with a bear mask and the other with a cat mask. Take her to jail. I'll go get Hokage-sama. The dog-masked one told the other 2, who nodded and shunshined away. The dog mask grabbed Naruto by the shoulder and shunshined to the Hokage's office. Hokage-sama, we found the one who did this to Naruto. She's been taken into custody, he told the Hokage, who immediately got out of his chair. What? Who was it? A Chunin named Yuhi Kurani. The dog mask said, and Sarutobi nodded. Does she have a criminal record? I don't know, sir. What should we do with her? Keep her there. See if she has a criminal record. I'll be there shortly, Sarutobi said, and dog nodded before poofing away. Naruto, Sarutobi said. Are you sure this was the woman who attacked you? He asked, getting a nod from the boy. Yes, but don't kill her, Oji-san. I don't want her death on my conscience. Send her to jail, but don't kill her, Naruto said, getting a smile from the Hokage. Okay, I'll see what I can do. Stay here until I get back, he said before poofing away. He showed up in Konoha's prison, where Kurani was held down by Cat and Bear while Dog was waiting for Sarutobi. She doesn't have a previous record, Hokage-sama, Dog told the Hokage, who nodded. Yuhi Kurani, you are standing here accused of heavy assault. I don't know if this is the right word for it, but I'm talking about the crime where you beat someone to near death. Naruto has pointed you out. We can make this fast and simple, or we can go to court with it. How do you plead? Yes, I did it, but please just let me talk to him. You can talk to him when you get out. You are hereby demoted to Chunin, and you are to be placed in jail for 3 years. You can thank Naruto for not wanting me to kill you, Sarutobi said, and left the Anbu to take the now hysteric woman away. He once again poofed into the office to find Naruto reading a scroll labeled, "To Naruto." Dear Naruto, if you are reading this, then that means that the sealing worked and I am dead. I was hop ng that I'd see you grow up, but I guess I can't, huh? I hope that the villagers are treating you right. I wish for them to see you as a hero, but I know how powerful hatred is. Forgive me, my son, and I hope Kushina is doing a good job raising you and your sister, but I think she's alright without me. Grow up strong and respected. I'm counting on you to kick Shinigami's ass and get me out of there. I'm guessing it's pretty painful in there. With love, your father, Namikaze Minato. Naruto read out loud to the wide-eyed Hokage. Why haven't you told me about this? Where did you find that, Naruto-kun? Sarutobi asked, looking at the slightly pissed off Naruto. In one of your drawers when I was looking for candy. Now why haven't you told me about this? Naruto asked while glaring at the Hokage. I was planning on telling you when you became a Chunin. You must understand, Naruto. Your father had enemies everywhere. I did this to protect you, Sarutobi said with a sigh. And my mom? And my sister? What about them? I don't know. Your mother left the village with your sister on the day your father sealed Megami in you. I've been trying to contact her, but no one knows where she is, Sarutobi said with a sigh. So she abandoned me. Is she like the rest of the villagers? Naruto asked with his head down. Yes, I think she is. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. Don't be. It's not your fault she left. She's the one at fault, Naruto said and got up to leave. Where are you going? Sarutobi asked. To the academy. I think I missed enough, Naruto said, and Sarutobi shook his head. Oh no, you're not. I've already sent a letter to Iruka. I'm going to be teaching you from now on. Once you've progressed enough, I'll give you the scrolls for your father's jutsus, Sarutobi said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. Why, you're going to be teaching me? He asked. At Sarutobi's nod, he jumped into the air. Yada-oh, he said as he landed and fell once again. Time skip. 3.5 years. Naruto was standing in front of Sarutobi with a proud look on his face. He could now move his arm and legs as if they were his own original limbs. He and Megami had grown from neutral to close friends. Shio had come by once more too. Flashback 1 year ago. Hello Naruto-kun, Shio said when Naruto entered Sandame's office. See Shio Basama, what are you doing here? Naruto asked with wide eyes. I came to see how my little project worked out. And I made a new part for you. She said, making Naruto sweat drop. You're making me feel like a robot. He said, and Shio laughed. Well, you are. Half at least. Now what I came here for. She said and held up what looked like a ball of metal. What's that? Naruto and Sarutobi asked at the same time. It's your new eye, she said, making the two go wide-eyed. But you have to be careful with it. It sucks a lot of chakra, so only use it when you're going to fight. Hi, Naruto said and gestured for the floor. Should I lay down like last time? No, that won't be necessary, Shio said and forcefully pushed his new eye into the socket. This is going to hurt like last time, so be prepared, she said and performed the same fusion jutsu. When all was over, Naruto was sitting on the ground rubbing his eye in pain. Ow, he said quietly. Now this eye has a zoom function like the Byakugan and a copying function like the Sharingan. It can also see chakra like both, has night vision and heat vision. I tried to put X-ray in there too, but it didn't fit. Feel free to tell me if you lose any more body parts. I'll be happy to fix you up, my little friend, Shio said with a witch-like laugh before poofing away, leaving a slightly dazed Naruto and a wide-eyed Sarutobi. Amazing, your eye now has 2 functions from each of our 2 strongest clans' dojutsus, Sarutobi said, and Naruto just nodded. Sarutobi smiled. Great, then this will just make learning easier for you. Try it out, he said, and Naruto nodded again. He closed his eyes and concentrated. When he opened them again, Sarutobi nodded to himself with a smile when he saw that in the place where there was once just a metal ball was now a green iris that looked like the lens of a camera. Shio, you've done it again, he thought with a smile. It's green, Naruto said and looked at Sarutobi. And chakra is blue, Sarutobi nodded. Okay, turn it off and we'll go training, he told Naruto, who was looking out the window. This is great, I can see our training ground. Oh, it's occupied. Flashback end. Naruto thoroughly enjoyed his new eye. He could be standing on the Hokage monument peeping on the women in the hot springs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Naruto-sama is a pervert. But to his defense, every guy is a pervert. Now Naruto, Sarutobi said from behind his desk. It's been a good 3.5 years training you, but now is the time for you to become a ninja of this village. Go to Iruka's classroom tomorrow at 10 a.m. to meet with your new team, Sarutobi said and handed Naruto a black headband. Naruto took it and put it on his forehead. He was wearing black combat boots, black cargo pants and a black tank top. Arigato Sarutobi-sensei. Who's in my team? Wait a minute, don't tell me, he said and activated his eye. He looked at the paper on Sarutobi's desk and zoomed in. Team 7, Uzumaki Naruto, Inuzuka Kiba and Nara Shikamaru. Sensei. Hitaki Kakashi. Hitaki Kakashi? Shouldn't he be training the Uchiha? Naruto asked and Sarutobi nodded. Yes, he should be, according to the council. But the council can only make decisions involving civilian matters but not shinobi matters. Kakashi specifically asked to train you. Me? Why? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Because he was a student of your father and the dog-masked Anbu I put in charge of protecting you while you were in the hospital, Sarutobi said and Naruto nodded. I'll have to thank him for that, he said and turned around. See ya Sarutobi-sensei, he said and exited the office. Naruto showed up in Iruka's classroom at 9 a.m. to get a good spot in the back. There was a boy there already. He had black hair tied up so he looked like a pineapple. Hey, you weren't in class. This is for the graduating class only, the pineapple said while Naruto pointed at his forehead. He had decided to cover up his metal eye with his Hite-8. I was trained by the Hokage. Don't you remember me, Shikamaru? Naruto asked the boy, who narrowed his eyes before shaking his head. No, I don't. It's me, Naruto, Naruto said with a grin, making Shikamaru go wide-eyed. Naruto, what happened to you? You used to be small and scrawny with yellow hair. Not tall and muscular with red hair. You look like you're 15 years old. Of course I wouldn't remember you, he shouted while flailing with his arms in a very un-Shikamaru-like behavior. Well, Sarutobi-sensei put me on a different diet than only ramen and trained me physically. And the hair was just a spur-of-the-moment kind of thing. Naruto said and ran a hand through his hair. But the last thing I heard was that you lost an arm, an eye and both legs. I don't understand a thing. Shikamaru shouted again, making Naruto laugh. Yeah, well, Sarutobi-sensei contacted a puppeteer from Suna who helped me with that. Naruto said and lifted his Hite 8 to reveal his eye, making Shikamaru's eyes go wide. Whoa, was all he could say. Yeah, I know, Naruto said before going to sit in the back. By 10 a.m. everyone who had graduated was sitting in the classroom, all looking strangely at Naruto. Iruka came into the class. Alright class, congratulations on passing. I will now announce the teams. Team 1. Like always I will skip these. Team 7 Uzumaki Naruto, Nara Shikamaru and Inazuka Kiba. Team 8 Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino and Akamichi Choji. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year. And finally Team 10 consists of Haruno Sakura, Yamanaka Ino and Uchiha Sasuke. And just as he finished, everyone winced at the two high-pitched squeals coming from the two Uchiha fangirls. Iruka-sensei, who is this Naruto? Asked a random kid, making Naruto raise his arm. That's me, he said, and Iruka nodded. You all know Naruto. He was in this class 4 years ago until his accident. But he's better now and has been trained personally by Hokage-sama, so it's fine. He said, making the class go wide-eyed. Alright, your senseis should be here soon. He said and walked out, leaving the entire class to turn their attention to Naruto. I will not answer any questions, he said simply before closing his eyes. 10 minutes later the door opened to reveal a man in beard and a cigarette in his mouth. Team 10 with me, he said and waited for his team to follow him. Later only Naruto's team and Team 8 were left when the door opened and Kurani walked in. Everyone had a hard time breathing when a sudden burst of killing intent came from Naruto, who had activated his eye. Kurani cleared her throat. Team 8, you're with me, she said and quickly left after giving Naruto an apologizing look while Naruto just glared at her. What the hell did you just do? Kiba asked Naruto once said Red Head had stopped flooding his killing intent. Killing intent, was all Naruto said before closing his eyes again. And why were you using something that almost made me piss my pants? Kiba asked with his eyes still wide. She's the one responsible for my accident. Naruto answered with a voice that said, ask me anything else and I'll rip off your head and piss down your throat. They waited for 3 hours with Naruto telling Kiba everything he told Shikamaru and telling them both what his bionic parts could do, since teammates should know the extent of their teammates' abilities. He didn't tell them that he knew Hiri-Ishin or Rasengan though. After some more waiting they heard footsteps outside. The door opened to reveal a man in standard Chunin outfit, mask and his Hite 8 covering his left eye. Naruto and him just looked at each other for a while before pointing accusingly at each other while both shouting, copycat. What's your excuse for hiding your eye? Kakashi shouted at Naruto, who lifted his Hite 8 to show him and activate his metal eye. I have a bionic eye. What's your excuse? Naruto shouted back, making Kakashi raise his own Hite 8. I have a chakra-sucking Sharingan. They both glared at each other with their special eyes for a while before huffing and turning away from each other. My first impression of you is, you all suck, he said before pointing up. Meet on the roof. And with that he poofed away. The three genin looked at each other before heading out the door. Once on the roof, Kakashi was glaring at Naruto, who was glaring right back at him. Now we do introductions. Name, likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams, he said, and Naruto snorted. Isn't it considered polite to introduce yourself first? He asked, and Kakashi nodded. Alright, I'll go first. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. My likes and dislikes are none of your concerns. I have lots of hobbies. My dreams for the future are also none of your business, he said and pointed at Kiba. Now you dog boy, Kiba growled before answering. My name is Inazuka Kiba. My likes are dogs and training. My dislikes are Popol, who doesn't treat dogs right. My hobbies are training and hanging out with my partner Akamaru here, and my dream is to become a strong clan heir, he said, and Kakashi nodded and pointed at Shikamaru. You next, sleepy head, he told Shikamaru, who was sitting half asleep. My name is Nara Shikamaru. My likes are sleeping and cloud watching. My dislikes are troublesome things. My hobbies are sleeping and cloud watching, and my dream is to become a so-so ninja with an average salary and then settle down and have a family," he said, making the others sweat drop. "Okay, you next, copycat," Kakashi said and pointed at Naruto. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto. My likes are training and my friends. My dislikes are people who judge others without getting to know them first, and a certain kunoichi. My hobbies are training and peeping in the hot springs, and my dream is to become the world's strongest ninja and Hokage." "You like peeping?" Kakashi asked with a wide eye. "Yes, I do, copycat," Naruto answered, making Kakashi growl. "Hey, I was the one who started putting my hite-8 over my eye." "You're the copycat. How'd I know that's true? I've never seen you without your Anbu mask," Naruto shouted back, making Kakashi growl again. "That's it. Both of us can't have this if we're on the same team. We'll settle this with rock paper scissor." "Alright, prepare to go down," Naruto answered and got into position. "Janken," they both shouted at the same time and shot out with their hands. Kakashi. "Rock." Naruto. "Scissor." "Damn," Naruto muttered and slumped on the ground, while Kakashi, being the cool Chunin he is, just smiled, while in his head, he was doing a victory dance. He cleared his throat. "Okay. Meet me on Training Ground 7 tomorrow for the real Genin exam," he said, making the three go wide-eyed. "But sensei, we've already had our Genin exam," Kiba said, while Shikamaru yawned. "Yes, but that exam was to weed out those who weren't cut out to be a shinobi. Only 9 out of the 27 graduates will become Genin," Kakashi said, making Kiba go wide-eyed. Shikamaru yawned again, and Naruto pulled his hite-8 up with a frown. "Now meet me there tomorrow at 5 a.m. Oh, and don't eat breakfast or you'll puke," Kakashi said before poofing away. "Well, I guess I'll see you all tomorrow then. See ya," Naruto said before also poofing away. Next day, 9 a.m. "Where's that bastard?" Kiba shouted in rage. They had been waiting for Kakashi for 4 hours. "Yo," Kakashi said as he came into view. "You're late," Kiba shouted, while Kakashi just smiled an eye smile. "Ah, sorry. You see, I had to save a couple of children from a burning building, and when I was done I saw that I had burnt my clothes, so I had to go change," he said with that smile still on his face. "That excuse was so lame that it's not even funny," Naruto said with a sweat drop. "Alright, let's start. Your mission is to take these from me," Kakashi said and held up 2 bells. "Whoever doesn't get a bell gets tied up to one of those logs and has to watch the others eat lunch. You'll also get sent back to the academy." "But sensei, there's only 2 bells," Naruto said, while Kakashi just smiled. "Yup, that means that at least one of you has to go back to the academy. Now remember that you have to come at me with the intent to kill, or you'll not even get close to me." Naruto smirked. "I can do that." "Good, now the clock is set for noon," Kakashi said and set an alarm clock on one of the logs. "Start," he said, and immediately everyone scattered. Well, everyone except Kiba. Kiba got his ass royally whooped. Literally. He had to experience what no man should ever have to experience. Senin Garashi, 1000 years of pain. Meanwhile, Naruto was confused. How does he expect Genins to beat him? You can beat him, but I know Hiraishin, Rasengan, and have bionic body parts. Naruto thought back while Megami nodded in his mind. Maybe this test has some hidden meaning? Megami said, making Naruto go wide-eyed. Yes, of course. But what? You'll figure it out, Naruto-kun, Megami said with a yawn. I'm going to sleep. Tell me how it worked out later. You know, I'm still not quite used to a giant fox with a male voice calling me Naruto-kun. Okay then, how about this? Came Megami's voice that changed into a feminine and very seductive voice. Naruto's eyes widened. Whoa, how did you do that? That's for me to know and you to find out, Naruto-kun, Megami said before closing their mental connection. Naruto shook his head to clear that very seductive voice out of his head before he went off to find Shikamaru. He found him sleeping next to a tree. Oi Shikamaru, Naruto said and kicked Shikamaru in the ribs, waking him up. What's so important that you had to disturb me from my sleep? Shikamaru asked with a glare. You're smart. There's gotta be some hidden meaning to this test. I just can't figure it out, Naruto said, making Shikamaru smirk. Oh, it's about time you came to that conclusion. I was waiting for someone to come to me, he told Naruto, whose eyes widened. You know what the meaning to this test is? Naruto asked and Shikamaru nodded. Teamwork, He said simple and closed his eyes while Naruto pondered for a while before snapping his fingers. Of course. Let's go get Kiba, Naruto said and started dragging a reluctant Shikamaru with him. They found him sitting next to a tree, nursing his aching ass. Oi Kiba, we know what this test is about. We gotta work together, Naruto said from behind him, scaring the shit out of Kiba. I don't need your help. I can beat him all by myself, Kiba said arrogantly. Naruto groaned. Kiba, open your eyes. You're a wet behind the ears genin and he's a former Anbu captain. He kicked your ass without even having to use his Sharingan, Naruto said and Shikamaru nodded. He's right Kiba. Even with your and Akamaru's help it isn't enough, but we just have to keep him still for a moment until we can grab the bells, Shikamaru said and Kiba nodded. Fine, but if I fail because of you I'm going to make our next academy year a living hell, he said and Akamaru barked in agreement. Okay, here's what we're gonna do, Shikamaru said and revealed his plans. All 30 of them. 30 minutes later Kakashi found Naruto standing in a clearing looking smug. You know, the basics of a ninja is stealth, Kakashi said while Naruto smirked. I don't need stealth to beat you. I also know the true meaning of this test, but I don't need my teammates to beat you either, he said, making Kakashi severely disappointed. That's foolish of you Naruto. I thought you could be a good ninja, but I guess I was wrong. I guess I'll have to beat teamwork into your head, he said and got into a fighting stance. You can try, was all he said before disappearing from view. He reappeared behind Kakashi and came at him with a vicious axe kick. Kakashi raised his arm to block. He could feel his bones creaking when his arms connected with the solid metal in Naruto's right leg. Naruto put his left foot on Kakashi's arms in midair and pushed off, backflipping safely onto the ground. Kakashi started shaking off the pain in his arms. That's some kick you got there, Naruto smiled. Thanks. Want another? He asked and charged again, this time appearing on the ground in front of Kakashi, delivering another axe kick that forced him to jump back. It'll be a cold day in hell before I try to block another one of his kicks, Kakashi thought as he jumped away. The axe kick connected with the ground, forming a small crater. He came at Kakashi again with a flurry of kicks and punches, forcing him back until he was 9 feet away from the trees in the forest. All of a sudden Naruto stopped attacking. What the was all Kakashi could think before finding himself frozen to the ground. We passed the test sensei, Naruto said with a smirk. I thought you said that you didn't need your teammates, Kakashi said calmly as he started breaking out of the cage main, shadow mimicry. The key for a ninja is stealth and deception, right? Naruto said, making Kakashi smile as he broke out of the cage main. Yeah, but you spent too much time talking. You didn't get the bells, Kakashi said before a new voice was heard. Kakashi turned to his right and saw Kiba and Akamaru sitting on the ground, Akamaru with 2 bells in his mouth. Our plan was for Naruto to make you think that he was arrogant enough to go up against a former Anbu captain so you wouldn't think of searching for us. Then Naruto would use his superior strength thanks to his bionic parts to force you back close enough for me to catch you in my cage main while Akamaru grabbed the bells when Naruto was talking to you, Shikamaru said as he came out into the clearing. It's really troublesome. I thought of 30 plans we could use when we only needed one. Kakashi smiled at his team. You pass, he said and led them to the memorial stone. Do you know what this is? He asked and Naruto nodded. Yeah, that's the hero's memorial stone. For people who were Kia. My dad's name is there, he said and pointed at the name Namikaze Minato before he pointed at Uchiha Obito. And I'm guessing this is how you got your Sharingan. Kakashi nodded. Yeah, how did you know? When Sarutobi-sensei told me that you were a student of my father, I decided to look up his other student to see if anyone could tell me what he was like. It said in the folder that Uchiha Obito was Kia on a mission and that you somehow acquired your Sharingan on that mission, he said and shrugged. I just put 2 and 2 together. Yes, Obito was the class Dobi while I was the clan genius. He was actually a lot smarter than me since he taught me something. Those who doesn't obey the rules are trash, but those who abandon their teammates are worse than trash. Take that to your heart. There's nothing more important than teamwork. Now go home and get something to eat. Tomorrow we begin doing missions. Dismissed, he said before poofing away to go read his book. The 3 newly promoted genins looked at each other with a smile before heading off. 3 weeks and 42 D-ranked missions later. They had just come back from capturing Tora the cat. Team 7 was the only team ever assigned that mission since Naruto could easily locate Tora with his eye and somehow managed to gain the cat's trust. He was now considered a hero among the shinobi population since at almost every ninja at least once have had to capture that cat and never gotten out of the mission without a scratch. When Naruto saw the Fire Lord's wife hug the cat to near death, he got a little upset. "Excuse me, Shijimi Obasan, I think I know why Tora runs away all the time," he said, getting her and his teammates' attention. "Oh, please tell me," she said politely. "You treat him like a plushie. He's a living animal and what you're doing could be considered animal abuse," he said, getting a grateful look from the cat when Lady Shijimi loosened her death grip on the cat. "It's not meant as an insult or anything, but you're hurting the cat." "I am?" she asked and held up Tora in front of her. Tora hissed and tried to claw her face. "Oh, I'm no good with animals." "What did that mean?" she asked, making everyone sweat drop. "It meant that he doesn't like you. When cats purr and come to you willingly, that means they like you. If they hiss and try to scratch you, that means they don't like you. You can still make up for it. Spoil him with gifts and don't hug him. Only pet him softly," Naruto said and looked at the cat, who was drooling and staring at the ceiling dreamy-eyed. "Thanks for the tip, Naruto oi," Shijimi said with a smile and paid for the mission. "But if you're wrong and this doesn't work, then you'll have to clean our entire house," she said with a smirk. "Fine," Naruto said before Shijimi left. Naruto? Why did you call her your aunt?" Kiba asked, shocked. "Because she is my aunt through marriage. She's my father's brother's wife," Naruto answered, shocking his two teammates further. "The Fire Lord is your uncle?" Kiba shouted and sat down in shock. "I don't believe this. His father is the Yondaime and his uncle is the Fire Lord. By the way, Naruto-kun, Chio sent a letter. She says that she has an upgrade for you. That's why I'm giving you this A-rank mission to Suna. You have to take this scroll," Sarutobi said and handed a scroll to Kakashi. "To the cage. It's of most importance that he gets it. I know you may think that you're too inexperienced for a rank, but the rank is based on the importance of the scroll," he said, and Kakashi nodded. "Got it, let's go team. Pack up and meet me at the gates in 30 minutes, Kakashi said before poofing away. 30 minutes later they were all standing at the gates. Even Kakashi. They had attacked him at first thinking he was an imposter, but believed him when he said that he's never late for an important mission. 2 days passed with them only beating down thugs who thought it'd be a good idea to rob them. The last day went by without much trouble at all, except Kiba complaining about sand in his ears. They were led into Suna when they showed them the scroll and were led to the cage tower. "Ah, you're Team 7, right?" Cage said when they entered his office. At their nod he continued. "Then I need a Uzumaki Naruto to step forward." Naruto nodded and stepped forward. "Hokage Dan sent a message that you'd show up and that Chio Basama wanted to see you," he said and gestured for a Chunin standing in the corner of the office. "This is Baki. He will lead you to her living quarters." Baki stepped up and grabbed Naruto's shoulder before disappearing in a swirl of sand. They appeared at the foot of a long stairway leading to a house on top of what looked like a mountain. "She lives up there," he said simply before turning around to leave. "Then why couldn't you take me up there immediately?" Naruto asked while Baki frowned. "Ebizu Jisama is our village's greatest seal master. He has constructed a seal that keeps anyone from being able to shunshin any closer than this. We'll have fun climbing those stairs," he said with a smirk before vanishing again. Naruto just muttered a bastard before starting the long climb. He came to the top and entered the house. He entered a circular room with a patch of water in the middle. There were 2 elders sitting around the water with fishing poles, one of which was Chio. "Yo, Chio Basama," Naruto said as he entered the room. The male of the 2 elders, who Naruto assumed was Ebizu, looked up when Naruto entered the room. Naruto walked up to Chio, who didn't respond. "Anyo, Chio Basama?" he asked and ran a hand in front of her face. No response. She had her eyes opened half and looked kind of dead. "Are you dead?" All of a sudden she opened her eyes fully and shouted a boo, scaring the shit out of Naruto. She cackled evilly. Coo. I still got it." Then Sei saw who it was. "Oh, it's my little project. Come for the upgrade, have you?" she asked, making Ebizu raise one of his overly long eyebrows. "Nei-chan, what are you talking about?" he asked, only to be ignored. Good, she cackled and pulled out a knife. The old man nearly had a heart attack when she started run the knife a lap around Naruto's arm at the elbow. She then made a vertical cut down his arm before forcefully pulling the skin off his arm. Think of how Arnold did when he showed his arm in Terminator 2. "Nate-chan, what are you doing?" Ebisu shouted, shocked out of his mind. He was surprised to see that the boy had a metal arm under the skin and flesh. "Nate-chan?" Shio looked at Ebisu for a moment before smiling. "Oh Ebisu, this is my pet project Uzumaki Naruto," she said happily and pointed at Naruto, who frowned. "Shio Basama, please, don't call me a project," he said, but was saddened to realize that she wasn't even listening. "Now come," she said, and pulled him into another room where she had a whole bunch of metal parts. "You really want to turn me into a full machine, don't you?" Naruto asked, getting a nod from the old woman. "Yes, of course," she said, and went to the other side of the room and picked up a metal cylinder. "Now this is a great upgrade. It's a chakra cannon," she exclaimed, and pulled Naruto to a work table. "What's your element?" Wind and fire," Naruto answered, getting an evil cackle from the woman. "Oh perfect. Now sit still and this'll be over in a second," she said, and started tinkering with Naruto's arm. After 15 minutes of tinkering she was done, and Naruto had his metal cylinder attached in the middle arm. Shio pointed at a couple of hinges attached to the cylinder. "See these hinges? Pump chakra into them," she told Naruto, who complied. When he pumped chakra into the hinges, they pushed the cylinder until it rested on top of his arm. Kinda like the super droids in Star Wars, only there is just one cannon. "Good. Now compress your wind chakra into a ball and push it through the cannon. But point it at the floor," she ordered, and Naruto once again complied. He pointed it at the floor and pushed his ball of wind through the cylinder. The results were amazing. The ball was launched through the cannon at an extremely high speed, resulting in it cutting through the floor into the floor below them, barely missing a scared out of his mind Ebisu. Naruto looked at Shio with a smile. "This is awesome," he shouted, getting a smile out of the old woman. "I know. Now go. I'll let you know if I make any more upgrades," Shio said, and motioned for Naruto to leave. "You can shunshin out of the building, but not into the building," she said, and Naruto nodded before covering up his arm with a cloth and using shunshin to get back to the Cage's office where Kakashi and the others were waiting. When he got back, his teammates noticed the cloth but didn't say anything when Naruto gave them a "I'll tell you later" look. "Ah, Naruto-san, I trust your visit went well?" Shio Basama is known to be a little, well, she doesn't have all the cards in her deck, if you know what I mean, Cage said, getting a nod from Naruto. "Oh yeah, I know what you mean," Naruto said and shuddered. "She's a little," he said, and made a whistling sound and made a screwing motion with his finger against his head. "But it went well. May I ask how you know her?" Cage asked politely. Naruto decided to lie since he didn't want anyone outside of Konoha to know of his bionic limbs. "Well, 4 years ago I got poisoned by a rare poison that we couldn't cure, so Sarutobi-sensei called for Shio Basama to help. It took a whole lot of pleading, but we eventually got her to help," he said, and the Cage nodded. "Okay, well I guess I've held you up long enough. You should hurry back to Konoha with this," Cage said, and handed Kakashi a scroll. Kakashi nodded and grabbed Kiba by the shoulder, while Naruto grabbed Shikamaru by the shoulder and shunshined to the gates. Once they were about 3 miles into Fire Country, Kiba decided to ask. "Hey Naruto, what was the upgrade?" he asked, getting nods from his other teammate and sensei. "Yes, I would also like to know that," Kakashi said, while Naruto grinned and pulled the cloth of his arm. "Look at this," he said, and pushed chakra into the hinges, revealing the chakra cannon. "What the hell is that?" Kiba asked, making Naruto grin even more. "I'll show you. See that tree?" he asked, and pointed at a tree. At their nods he grinned like a Cheshire cat. Not for long. He took aim at the tree and compressed a ball of fire chakra into the cannon. He fired the bullet into the tree. There was an explosion. Once all the smoke had cleared, the only thing left of the tree were some burnt splinters. Naruto just started walking away casually, leaving his stunned teammates and sensei behind. "That's some firepower, Naruto-kun," came Megami's voice in his head. "Yeah, I know. Hey, can you heal my arm again? But leave a patch of skin so I don't have to cut up my arm every time I want to use my cannon," he thought, and got a mental nod from Megami as she got to work. He covered up his arm with the cloth again before turning to his team. "Hey, are you guys coming, or are you just gonna stand there looking stupid?" The three shook their heads to clear the shock before following Naruto. He has an eye implant with 2 attributes from the Sharingan and Byakugan, night vision, heat V-zone and bionic legs and an arm with a cannon. Kakashi thought in despair. He was no longer the most unique person on the team. They got back to Konoha safely without any trouble. 3 days later Naruto had been training and was walking around Konoha when he saw Kurani with her team walking towards the Hokage tower which was behind him. She looked hopeful when she saw him. Maybe I can get a chance to talk to him now. She thought but was disappointed when he jumped up on the roof of a building and started roof hopping to his home which was the Namikaze compound. Damn it, 3 more days passed with Naruto and his team going back to D-rank missions. That night there was a knock on his door. He opened it and saw Kurani standing in the rain looking like a wreck. He immediately extracted his claws, got into a defensive stance and started flooding his ki. "What do you want?" he asked with venom in his voice. "I want to apologize," she said with her head down. Naruto grabbed her by the neck and pushed her up against the wall with his claws at her stomach. "And is that gonna make it better?" Naruto snarled at her with a raised eyebrow. "Is apologizing gonna give me my arm, legs and eye back?" "No," she whispered. "What? No, not for you," she answered louder this time. "Not for me? Then for who?" "For me. I can't sleep anymore. My best friend doesn't want to talk to me and I've lost the respect of my co-workers. I just want everything to stop," she said with tears in her eyes. "So you want me to forgive you because you suffer? Not because you feel guilty about leaving me a cripple who could only become a ninja by turning half of my body into metal?" Naruto snarled and poked her in the stomach with his claws. She nodded. "Of course I feel guilty. Otherwise I wouldn't have shown up here. And how can I know that? How do I know that you're not just trying to get close enough to finish the job?" Naruto asked, glaring at her with his metal eye. "Look at what you did to me. I can't forgive you. You don't know what it's like to live like this. Get off my property," he said and let her go, letting her slump down on the ground before he went back into his house. "I felt no lies coming from her," Megumi told Naruto, who sat down in a chair in his living room. "Neither did I," Naruto said with his eyes closed. "Did you have to be so cold?" Megumi asked before realizing what they were talking about. "Never mind, Megumi-chan. A part of me wants to forgive her while another part of me wants to do the eye for an eye thing," he thought with a groan. "I just don't know what to do. Find out why she did it. Find out how far she's willing to go to earn your forgiveness," Megumi said, making Naruto snap his eyes open. "I can do that," he thought before getting up. He opened the door and found her in the same spot she was in before he left. "There's one way I can forgive you," he said, making her raise her head to look at him. "Really? How?" she asked while he took out a kunai. "Walk 1,000 miles in my shoes," he said, letting her know what he meant. "He wants to cut off my limbs." "You've brought it upon yourself," said the voice in her head. Naruto crouched down next to her and placed the kunai at her left knee. "So, do you want me to forgive you?" Kurani sat there for a while before closing her eyes. "Yes." Naruto stared at her for a while before sighing. "You're forgiven. It doesn't mean I like you, but you're forgiven at least," he said before going back and leaving Kurani to just stare at the door. "Ah, Team 7. Just the team I wanted to see," Sarutobi said when they entered his office. "I have a joint C rank for you here with Team 8 here," he said and gestured for Team 8. Naruto and Kurani looked at each other for a swift moment before Naruto looked away. "So what's the mission?" he asked Sarutobi, who smiled. "You're going to protect this bridge builder, Suna," he said and shouted at the door. "You can come in now." In through the door came an old man with a bottle of sake in his hand and an ugly asshat. "These people are supposed to protect me? They're just kids," he shouted and pointed at Naruto. "And that brat only has one eye." And at the moment he said that the room temperature went down several degrees. In a second Naruto was in front of him with his claws at the mont's neck. "You'd be wise not to insult me, old man," he said with a growl. "It might just get you killed." The man, who was by now sweating bullets, nodded slowly. "Oh, okay. Good," Naruto said slowly before removing his claws. Kakashi cleared his throat. "Don't worry, Tazuna-san. They can handle a few bandits. And even if they can't, Kurani and I are Chunin. We can protect you," he said before turning to his team. "Okay guys, meet at the gates in 20 minutes, he asked and looked at Kurani, who nodded. "Sounds good," she said, and Tazuna nodded before leaving. "Well, see you guys then." Kakashi said and poofed away. Team 7 started to leave but Naruto stayed behind and turned to Team 8. That means 50 minutes, he said and left the office. True to Naruto's words, Kakashi showed up at the gates 50 minutes later at the same time as Naruto and his teammates. After walking for 2 hours they saw a whole gang of about 50 men with swords and other pointy objects running towards them screaming obscenities. Naruto looked at Kakashi before forcing chakra into his arm, making his cannon appear. "You think I can take them all in one shot?" he asked and charged chakra into his cannon. Kakashi's eye widened when he looked at the chakra gauge. "Full. You've never fully charged it before," he shouted, making Naruto smile and look at him. "I know, but sometimes gotta be the first," he said and aimed at the thugs. "They're not very smart, charging people head on like that, are they?" "Nope," Kakashi said in a bored tone. "Fire," he said and Naruto released the chakra in his cannon. The bullet traveled faster than Kakashi could follow and impacted perfectly in the middle of the thugs 80 feet away. The explosion was so grand that they could feel the heat even from an 80 feet distance. The shockwave blew the genins, Suna and Kurani, who hadn't been prepared for a blast that big, off their feet. When all was over, Kakashi looked at Naruto. "A tip. Next time you charge it fully," he started but was interrupted by Naruto. "Use wind, yeah I know," he said with wide eyes, frozen in the same position he was in when he fired. Only 15 minutes later they encountered two Chunin missing nins who called themselves the Demon Brothers. They were stopped by Shikamaru's Cage Main and immobilized by Kiba's Suga, Piercing Fang, and Choji's Nakuden Sensha, Meat Tank. They found out that they were hired to kill Tazuna, making the mission be to a rank, based on the skill level of any upcoming nin they may meet. They continued walking for 2 hours before they decided to set up camp. Naruto was having that dream again. The nightmare from 4 years ago. "What the hell?" Megami shouted from her cage. "I thought I locked those dreams away," she said to herself before she got back to work, trying to push those dreams away. Kurani had guard duty when she saw Naruto writhing in his sleep. He started groaning and cupped his hand over his left eye. Kurani knew what he was dreaming about. She walked up to him and shook him awake. He sat up with a jolt, extracted his claws. "Extracted? Is that how you say it?" and placed them at Kurani's neck. He looked at her with wide eyes and blinked a few times before realizing what he was doing. He retracted his claws and muttered a sorry. Kurani, now over her shock, shook her head. "No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have woken you up like that." Naruto just sat there staring at the fire. "You dreamt about that night, didn't you?" she asked, getting a nod from Naruto. "What was going through your head?" he asked, making Kurani raise an eyebrow. What was going through your head when you did it?" he asked, letting her know what he meant. "I don't know. I had been drinking that night and only thought about my parents. And we all believed so strongly that you were the demon. I just wanted peace. I only got more pain though," she said, and Naruto nodded slowly. She was on the verge of tears by then and Naruto decided to cheer her up. "I may miss my original limbs, but at least now I have these really cool blades and a cannon of mass destruction," he said with a grin, making Kurani giggle a little. Meh, it was better than a frown, he thought with a mental shrug. "Have you started warming up to her, Naruto-kun?" Megami asked in his mind. "Maybe, I don't know." "What do you mean you don't know? How hard is it to know?" "I don't know. It's confusing. One moment I want to gut her like a fish and the next I want to get to know her better." "What do I do?" he asked and grasped his head in despair, making Kurani raise an eyebrow. "What's wrong?" she asked, making Naruto jump in shock. He had forgot she was there. Nothing. I was just thinking," he said, and Kurani narrowed her eyes. "No, you weren't. What were you really doing?" "I was talking to Megami," he said, not really caring about what she'd do. "Megami? Kyuubi, you can talk to it?" she asked. "Her? What? I can talk to her," he said, and told her everything Megami had told him. He didn't know why he told her everything. He just did. "So Kyuubi, Megami, wasn't responsible for the attack?" "Not directly. She attacked but she wasn't in control," Naruto answered. "She isn't really that bad. She was the one who brought me out of my coma, gave me useful tips during training, helped me grow and gave me this really cool hair color," he said, and ran a hand through his hair, making Kurani giggle. "So why haven't you told anyone about it?" she asked Naruto, who raised an eyebrow. "Would anyone believe me?" "No, I guess they wouldn't." "Well, Naruto said and stood up. It's been nice talking to you, but I think I need to get some shut-eye. I don't really need it, but I really like sleeping, he said, making Kurani giggle again. Yeah, I think it's about time for Kakashi's shift, Kurani said and got up to wake Kakashi while Naruto got into his sleeping bag. Good night. Good night. The next day they were on their way to Wave. Naruto was in the rear with Kurani talking. Hey, I thought you were demoted to Chunin, Naruto said. When did you become a Chunin again? I took the Chunin exams 3 days after I got out of prison. Though I still have to work getting Chunin pay for 6 more months. I've wanted to be a Chunin sensei since I was 15, so I don't really care about the pay, she told Naruto, who nodded. How were you allowed to take the exams? He asked, and Kurani shrugged. I don't know. I was sure Hokage-sama wouldn't allow me to take the exams, but he did, she answered before deciding to ask him a question. Why did you not want me dead? What? Hokage-sama told me before he put me in jail that I had you to thank for not being executed. I took away your chances of living a normal life. Why did you ask him not to kill me? By this time their conversation had caught the attention of their co-travelers. Naruto shrugged. I don't know. I guess I didn't want your death on my conscience. It was unnecessary. At this time Kakashi decided to make himself heard. Well, as good as it is seeing you two bond like that, I need you to keep your focus on the mission and get down. He shouted and grabbed Tazuna and Kiba and pulled them to the ground while the others dove to the ground in time for a huge sword to come swinging through the air before lodging itself into a tree. Big, Naruto said, getting up as a man landed on the sword. Really big, Kiba said as he too got up with the rest of the group. Naruto leaned in and whispered to Kiba loud enough for the man to hear. You think he's trying to compensate for something? He asked, making Kiba and Kakashi snicker while a tick formed in the mont's forehead. Hey, who do you think you are, insulting me like that, Gaki? You have a death wish? He asked and jumped down, grabbing his sword, dislodging it from the tree before landing on the ground. No, but you probably do. I don't care who you are. Unless you are an S-rank nin, you either gotta be really brave or really stupid going up against the copy nin Kakashi, Konoha's genjutsu specialist and 6 clan heirs. Naruto said, making the man raise an eyebrow. Oh? Copy ninja Kakashi, huh? No wonder the demon brothers and those thugs Gato hired lost. No, Kakashi said, shaking his head. Naruto here took care of the thugs and Kiba and Choji took care of the demon brothers, he said before lifting his Hite 8. Stay out of this, guys. Zabuza smirked and performed a few seals. Ninpo. Kirigakure no Jutsu, ninja arts. Hidden mist technique, he said, and a thick mist started rolling in. The mist was so thick that you couldn't see further than 6 feet in front of you after Kakashi sent out a wave of chakra to disperse some of it. Kakashi turned to Naruto. Naruto, where is he? He asked, and Naruto activated his eye and set it for heat vision. He stood there looking around and saw him just standing next to the lake while a shadow, slightly warmer than the air around them, moved between them and Tazuna. Naruto's eyes widened. Behind! He shouted and extracted his claws and stabbed the Mizu Bunshin, water clone. Oh, the brat is pretty good, Kakashi, came Zabuza's voice from behind Kakashi. Naruto decided not to say anything since he saw that Kakashi was just a Mizu Bunshin. Zabuza cut through Kakashi and got wide-eyed. What? He copied it through the mist? He thought as a kunai was placed at his neck. It's over, Kakashi said with a smirk. Sensei, that's just a Bunshin. He's behind you, Naruto shouted, making Kakashi go wide-eyed. He destroyed the Mizu Bunshin and ducked under a sword swing. He looked up just in time for a powerful kick to connect with his face, sending him flying into the lake. Kakashi got up and looked at the water. It's heavy, he said as Zabuza appeared behind him. Hey, foolish, he said and performed some seals. Suiro no Jutsu, water prison technique, he said, and a dome of water appeared around Kakashi, trapping him. Get out of here. This fight ended the second I got caught, Kakashi shouted when Zabuza made a Mizu Bunshin. The Bunshin walked up to shore and looked at Kurani. Konoha's genjutsu mistress Yuhi Kurani, huh? Well, there's nothing you can do. I have better ninjutsu and taijutsu than you, and there hasn't been a genjutsu yet that I haven't been able to dispel, he said with a smirk. Naruto lost his temper and charged Zabuza from the air with his claws. Zabuza just smirked before reaching into the air and grabbing Naruto around the throat. Naruto, Kiba and Shikamaru shouted in unison when Zabuza grabbed him. That was foolish of you. Zabuza said, throwing Naruto to the ground and stepping on his chest. Stupid little wannabe ninja. That's what's wrong with Konoha. You're too soft. You don't teach your kids what the real world is like. Nowadays these stupid brats don't even think about that they may die. They're just charging and trying to be heroes. He said with a smirk that Naruto mimicked. He looked up at Zabuza, who had his foot on his chest. This was all part of my plan, he said, making Zabuza raise an eyebrow. Naruto extracted his cannon, charged it with a small fire shot and aimed at Zabuza's head. Surprise fuckface, he said and fired. Zabuza's head was blasted into a puddle of water. Naruto got up and started squeezing the water out of his clothes. Asshole. Zabuza just stood on the water, holding Kakashi's prison with wide eyes. What the hell is this kid? Naruto turned around with a smile. I'm your death, he said and fired at real Zabuza. Zabuza's eyes widened and he ducked under the bullet but found that he had to jump over another one. After firing 15 shots, Naruto got tired. Damn it, fuck it, time to whip out the big guns, he said before taking out a 3-pronged kunai without the ring at the end and placing it in the barrel of his cannon. Kakashi's eyes widened when he saw the kunai. Naruto smirked. Here's another surprise, he said and extracted his claws before firing the kunai above Zabuza's head. The moment the kunai flew past Zabuza's head, Naruto disappeared in a flash of red. He appeared behind Zabuza, who reacted just in time to only get a shallow cut in his back instead of getting cut in half. Back on shore, Kurani's eyes widened. Hiraishin, she said, making the otter genins look at her. What? Hiraishin is the technique Yondaime-sama used to earn his nickname the Yellow Flash. Kurani said while looking at the spot where Naruto had appeared. He single-handedly won the war against Iwa with it, she said, making the genin's eyes widen as well. And Naruto knows it? Kiba asked, more to himself than anyone else. Blast off, Naruto said with a smile and formed a Rasengan in his right hand before slamming it into the water, sending a huge wave of water slamming into Zabuza, forcing him back into a tree. Once there, he received a kunai to each limb, courtesy of Kakashi, who sat on a tree branch with a kunai in hand. It's time for you to die, he said and held up the kunai when 2 senbons came flying into Zabuza's neck. Well, will you look at that? He did die, said a voice from another tree. Looking over there, they saw a boy, slightly older than the genins, sitting on a tree branch wearing a Kiri Hunter Nin mask. Thank you for wounding him for me. I've been searching for him for a very long time, he said and disappeared in a swirl of mist before appearing next to Zabuza. I must dispose of this body, for it holds many secrets. Farewell. And with that he disappeared with Zabuza's body. Naruto turned to Kakashi with a smile. That ended well, didn't I? He started but froze before falling unconscious to the ground. Naruto. Kiba and Shikamaru shouted in unison before Kakashi waved to them. It's alright guys, he just suffers from chakra exhaustion. He'll be fine, was all he managed to say before he just slumped unconscious to the ground. Well then, let's take them to Tazuna-san's house, Kurani said and slung Kakashi's arm over her shoulder. Kiba, you take Naruto. Naruto woke up the next day in a room lying in a futon 5 feet away from Kakashi, who was out cold. He got up and followed the scent of bacon and came into a kitchen where Team 8, Team 7, Tazuna, an unknown woman and a kid were sitting around a table. Kiba's eyes widened when he saw Naruto standing in the doorway. Naruto, he shouted, making the others aware of the blonde. You're awake. Kurani's sensei said that it would be longer. Well, I've always recovered quickly, Naruto said with a smile and took a step forward. That's as far as he got though before he fell to the ground. Uh-oh, was all he managed to say before his face collided with the floor. Naruto. Shikamaru shouted and ran up to him with Kiba and helped him to the table. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. My legs just have a hard time working again after chakra exhaustion, Naruto said as he sat down. It takes a while for the chakra to fill the systems again, he said and held up his arm. Look, he pumped chakra into his arm to try and show them his cannon, but it got stuck halfway. My arm and legs suck chakra like crazy trying to restore the chakra that's gone. Give me one more night and I'll be as good as new, he said with a smile. He was introduced to the woman and the boy. The woman's name was Tsunami and the boy's name was Inari. Inari just up and left the table when Kurani mentioned a picture on the wall. They were told that the man who was torn from the picture was the hero of Wave who was publicly executed by Gato. Kakashi and Kurani started teaching Team 8 and Team 7 excluding Naruto the tree climbing exercise while Naruto guarded Suna. 1 week later they were sitting around the dinner table when Inari decided to ask a question. "Why do you do it?" he asked, making everyone look at him. "Why do you try so hard? You're all just going to get killed anyway. You can never stop Gato." "Says who?" Naruto asked. "So what? You're all just gonna cower under the table and cry?" he asked and walked up to Inari. "You're pathetic. I'll show you, you little brat. I'll kill Gato and put his head right on that table." He growled and pointed at the table before leaving the house. Kakashi came into the kitchen on his crutches. He looked at the other nins. "He's gonna do something stupid, isn't he?" "Yep," Kiba said slowly while nodding. "What do we do?" Kurani asked, looking at Kakashi. "Our mission is to protect Suna, and that we shall. I know Naruto, he's not gonna do anything too stupid. I hope," he said before sitting down. "So we're not gonna go after him or something?" Choji asked, and Kakashi shook his head. "No. If he does do something stupid and ends up in a dangerous situation he can't handle, he'll just come to us with this," he said and held up a three-pronged kunai. "He gave it to me and told me to throw it on the ground if I needed help or if we got separated on a mission." Naruto was running through the forest when he smelled the hunter nin from before. He looked through the trees and saw a boy who looked like a girl walking through the forest with a basket of medicinal herbs. "That's Zabuza's accomplice," Megami said in Naruto's head. "I know," Naruto thought with a nod. "So what are you gonna do? What do you think?" "Follow him." After following the boy for 10 minutes the boy just disappeared, only to appear behind Naruto with a senbon at his neck. "Why are you following me?" he asked, making Naruto smirk. "To find Zabuza and in turn find Gato," he said from behind the boy, making his eyes widen. "What? When did you?" the boy asked and quickly turned around to stab Naruto only for him to poof away. "Gotcha," Naruto said with a kunai at the boy's throat and his claws at his back. "Now where is Zabuza? I won't tell you anything." Naruto sighed. "Damn, then I have to go by the scent." "Oh well, then I don't need you," he said before driving his claws into the boy's back. When the boy gasped, Naruto ran his knife across the boy's throat. "That was brutal," Megami said when the boy hit the ground. "You know you liked it." "I did. Shit, now I have to track the boy's scent," Naruto thought with a sigh. He started sniffing around for about 30 seconds before he found the boy's scent. He followed the trail back to a huge house deep inside the forest. Two guards outside. "You think Gato may be inside?" "He could be. You better check first." "Good idea," Naruto thought before placing a special-made ringless kunai in his cannon. He fired the kunai at one of the guards at top speed before rushing the other guard, knocking him out with a quick blow to his gut with the left arm. He dragged the unconscious guard away into the forest and tied him up against a tree. The guard woke up 10 minutes later to find Naruto sitting in front of him, watching him lazily. "Yo, who are you?" the guard exclaimed, making Naruto smile. "That depends." "Depends on what?" "Depends on whether you answer my questions or not. If you give me a bad or no answer, I'm your enemy. If you give me the answer I want, I'm your friend." "What questions?" "Well," Naruto said and put a hand to his chin. "First of all, is Gato inside that house?" "Yes," the guard said, making Naruto smile. "Good, now that's the kind of answer that makes me your friend." "Second question, is Zabuza in that house?" "Yes, he's in bed and can't move." "Very good. Now last question, are there any civilians in there?" "No." Naruto smiled and got up. "Those answers made me your friend. And as your friend it hurts me to do this," Naruto said and rammed his claws into the mon's face. "Did it really hurt you to do that?" Megami asked with a mental raised eyebrow. "Not really," Naruto said with a shrug. "They're all murderers and thieves. They don't deserve pity." "That's not what you said about Kurenai-chan," Megami said with a playful voice. "That's different." "How?" "Well, it's..." "Shut up." "Ah, I see. Naruto-kun likes Kurenai-chan," Megami shouted, making a vein appear in Naruto's forehead. "No, I don't. The woman cut off my arm and legs. And yet you haven't killed her." "Huh." Naruto and Kurenai, sitting in a tree, and... "Shut up," Naruto yelled in his mind before closing the mental link with Megami. "Like I would ever kiss someone in a tree," he muttered to himself before walking off to the house. He positioned himself about 30 yards away from the house before charging up his cannon. He pumped it full of fire chakra and fired just as Gatu stepped out of the house. He smirked. "Yane, Gatu," he said to himself right before the house exploded, sending Gatu flying in his direction. "Oh shit," Naruto exclaimed before ducking just in time for the short mont's corpse to fly right past his head. He walked over to Gatu's corpse and found that he had severe burns on his back and a crushed nose, probably from the slamming into a tree. "Alright," Naruto said to himself and took a knife from his pouch. "Let's get this over with." And with that he started removing Gatu's head from his body. The people sitting around Tazuna's dinner table almost lost control of their bladders when Naruto appeared in the room with a red flash. "Yo," he said with one hand in the air and the other behind his back. "Welcome back, Naruto. I'm guessing you were behind the explosion we heard a while ago?" Kakashi asked with a raised eyebrow, getting a happy nod from Naruto. "Yep, you heard it all the way over here?" he asked before whistling. "That must have been one hell of a blast. Their hideout was about 3 miles from here. So how did it go?" Kakashi asked, and Naruto smiled before placing Gatu's head on the table, making the occupants go wide-eyed. "Success," Naruto said with a smile before going up to his room to get some sleep. Hokage's office. "Naruto, why did you go all alone wolf on that mission?" Sarutobi asked with a sigh as Team 7 and 8 stood in front of Sarutobi's desk. "Do you want the truth or a lie?" Naruto asked, making Sarutobi sigh again. "Guess." Naruto nodded. "A lie it is he started, but stopped when he saw the look on Sarutobi's face. "Fine, I went lone wolf because that Inari brat pissed me off. If you're expecting an apology, I can tell you that it's not coming. I wouldn't expect you to apologize. I've come to learn that apologizing is something you don't do." "Good, then I'll just leave now," was all Naruto said before blurring away. "Well then, dismissed," Sarutobi said with a sigh. "But not you two," he said, looking at Kakashi and Kurani. "The Junins have a meeting here in 10 minutes. Don't be late, and I swear to Kami, if you're late, I'm gonna demote you to Chunin, Kakashi." "Fine," Kakashi said with a sigh and pulled out his Icha paradise before poofing away. Naruto's house. "Hey, Naruto," Kiba shouted, banging on Naruto's door 15 minutes later. The door opened to reveal Naruto, without his left eye. "Dude," Kiba shouted in disgust, staring at the empty eye socket. "Put the eye back in." "Oh," Naruto said and turned around. "Sorry, I've been working on it," he said as he walked inside. "So, what do you want?" "I just came by to tell you that Kakashi-sensei wants to meet us at the bridge in 10 minutes. Kiba said, staring as Naruto picked his bionic eye off the table and plopped it back into the socket with a sickening, squelching sound. "You do realize that that's really gross, right?" "Yep," Naruto said as he placed a small paper seal on his left temple. Suddenly, he screwed his eyes shut in pain. "Oh, God, I never get used to that. What are you doing?" Kiba asked as they left Naruto's apartment. "Well, after removing my limbs, I need to reattach all the nerves and everything. Usually, I would have to form a few seals and use a technique to quickly attach them, but that's really hard when doing it to myself. That's why I've constructed this seal," Naruto said and pointed at the piece of paper stuck to his temple. "It works like the technique, but it takes a little longer. It should be done in about 5 minutes. So, what did you do to it?" "I added X-ray," Naruto said with a grin. "Kakashi-sensei probably won't be at the bridge in a few hours, so I'm going to the hot springs." Hokage's office. The Hokage stared at the shinobis present. "Now, first we'll hear from those who are watching over the new genins," he said as he looked at the 3 Junins in the front. "Kakashi, Kurani, Asuma. Well, are there any genins you would like to enter into this Chunin selection exam?" Kakashi put away his Icha and raised his hand. "I, Hitaki Kakashi, Junin Sensei of Team 7, nominate my genins, Uzumaki Naruto, Narashikamaru and Inazuka Kiba, for the Chunin exams," he said, and Kurani followed. "I, Yuhi Kurani, Junin Sensei of Team 8, nominate my genins, Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino and Akamichi Choji, for the Chunin exams." Asuma was next. "I, Sarutobi Asuma, Junin Sensei of Team 10, nominate my genins, Uchiha Sasuke, Yamanaka Ino and Haruno Sakura, for the Chunin exams. All of them. How rare. Sarutobi said as he puffed on his pipe. Hold on a sec, Iruka exclaimed from the gathered crowd. What is it, Iruka? Hokage-sama, please let me have a word, Iruka said with a strange, crazy-looking expression on his face. I may be speaking out of my place, but most of these 9 were my students. Sure, they're talented, but they're not ready for the exams. They need more experience. I don't understand the Junin's reasoning. Kakashi turned to Iruka with a raised eyebrow. Are you saying that my team isn't ready? That's exactly what I'm saying, Iruka exclaimed, making Kakashi snicker. Iruka, Naruto has been through more than you and I put together. He's experienced more pain than most Chunins, maybe even Junins. He's the one who actually saved me from Momochi Zabuza. My team is strong enough to take down 2 Junins by themselves. During our training, Naruto has taken it upon himself to drill the real world into the other 2, giving them more than enough experience for this exam. I may not be speaking for everyone else, but my team would actually be able to take on the Junin exams, should they want to. He said and stared Iruka dead in the eye. So don't come telling me that they're not ready. They're soldiers under my command and I would never put them through something that they're not ready for. Asuma and Kurani sighed in unison. Hokage-sama, Asuma said as he raised his hand. I would like to withdraw my request, he said, making the eyes of everyone in the room widen. The team with the Uchiha wasn't going to go through the exams. Sasuke may be strong enough to go through the exams, but Sakura and Ino are not, now that I really think about the dangers of the exam. Plus, they have no sense of teamwork whatsoever. So, my team won't be participating in the exam. It's a pity, Kakashi said as he took out his trusty book. Sarutobi would have told him to put it away, had he not been an avid reader of it himself. I would have wanted to see how the almighty Uchiha would fare against Naruto, the crippled Dobi. I would have wanted to see it too, but they're not ready, Asuma said as he put his hands into his pockets. Sarutobi turned to Kurani. Kurani, do you want to withdraw your request? No, Hokage-sama, my team is ready. Alright then, dismissed, Sarutobi said calmly, while inwardly jumping around in excitement. Yay, the paperwork for today is done. I get to read my precious Icha. Team 7's meeting spot, the Bridge of Preliminaries. When Kakashi arrived 3 hours late to the bridge, he was met by 3 strange sights. Shikamaru was laying on the railing, sleeping while balancing, dangerously close to falling into the river below. Kiba was on the ground, clutching his sides in pain while laughing his ass off. And finally, a bandaged and bruised Naruto sitting on the opposite railing with a look that said, I got the living shit beat out of me by angry women during their time of month. While pecking his bionic eye with a kunai. Anyo, Kakashi said with a sweat drop, before raising his hand in a greeting. Yo, you're late, Naruto said and winced as breathing made his chest hurt. Anyo, I got lost on the road of life. You've already used that excuse, Shikamaru, who was now awake, said as he sat up. I see, Kakashi said with the sweat drop on his head growing bigger, before clearing his throat. Are you depressed about something, Naruto? Naruto looked at him while taking wheezing breaths. I realized that looking in the hot springs with my X-ray is not good if I'm standing right outside it. PMS. Women everywhere. Next time, I'm gonna stand on the Hokage monument. Right. Well, anyway, I've nominated you all for the Chunin exams, Kakashi said and took 3 slips of paper out of his pocket. Here are your application forms. Though this is just a nomination. Whether or not to take the exams is up to you. Those who wish to take the exam should sign the papers and be at the academy, room 301, tomorrow at 4 p.m. That is all, he said before disappearing in a poof of smoke. Naruto stared at his paper for a while before turning to his team. So, what do you think, guys? Shikamaru scratched the back of his head. Mendokus, this exam will probably be hard, but I might become a Chunin if I win. If I become a Chunin, I'll be 1 step closer to retirement. How about you, Naruto? Well, I'm not taking it, unless you're taking it. We're a team, right? I don't wanna become Chunin, if you don't become Chunin. Well said, Kiba said as he finally stopped laughing. So, meet you at the academy tomorrow? Yep. The next day, Naruto and his team walked through the academy, past the Genjutsu, which the Uchiha was stupid enough to reveal to the other genins, and over to the door leading into the exam room. That Sasuke is an idiot, Shikamaru muttered, shaking his head, getting a nod from Naruto. Yeah, he could have kept the really weak ones from entering if he wanted to, but he had to show off. I don't think he was supposed to enter the Chunin exams, Kiba said, lowering his voice, in case anyone heard him. When Ka-san came home yesterday, she was furious. She walked around all night, grumbling about the Uchiha and about how the council was sucking up to him. As you know, she's a member of the council. She's not one of those arrogant, wrinkled old prunes, right? Naruto asked, scrunching his nose up in disgust. Because, if she is, I never want to meet her. No way, Kiba exclaimed, grinning. The only reason my mom is in the council is because it's mandatory, being the head of the Inuzuka clan and all that. Oh, good. They got to the door, where Kakashi was waiting for them. Good, you're all here. Now, we can properly take the exam. What? Kiba asked, raising an eyebrow. The truth is that this test can only be taken by teams of 3. Kakashi explained, making Naruto grin. So, you lied to us, again. Kakashi gave them an eye smile. Pretty much, he exclaimed, making his genin sweat drop. But that doesn't really matter, since you all came of your own free will. You guys are my proud team. Now go. Yeah, Naruto said with a smile, while Kiba grinned and Shikamaru gave off a smile of his own. They went through the doors and were introduced to a classroom packed with genins. Everyone, and I mean everyone, stared at them with menacing, I want to kill you, eyes. Naruto raised an eyebrow, looking over the classroom. What, you all never seen a genin team before? Go fuck a kunai, shove it up your ass and twist it. About half the genins turned away from Naruto, most of them blushing at Naruto's choice of words. The rest of the genins twitched. Oi, Shikamaru, came the happy voice of Akamichi Choji. Yo, Choji, Shikamaru said, waving his hand as Choji and his team, Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata, walked up. You're in this exam too? Make sure you don't die. I'll say the same to you. Choji said with a grin, opening up a bag of chips and digging in. So, you're aiming for Chunin, huh? Naruto asked as he looked over Choji and his team. Correct, Shino said, giving of the faintest of nods. Like morons like you guys could ever become Chunin. Came the arrogant voice of Uchiha Sasuke, making Choji, Kiba, Shikamaru and Naruto groan. It's him. Naruto muttered and turned around to stare at the Uchiha, waving his hand. Yo, how's it going, Sasuke-chan? Shut up, you idiot. Sakura shrieked furiously. Don't call Sasuke-kun gay. Sasuke had ignored the insult and smirked at the others. Are you sure you guys are strong enough for an exam like this? I mean, it's not really something little kids like you can handle. Kiba grinned. Says the little pup who needed the council to pull a veto on the Hokage in order to get into the exam. I heard from my mom that your sensei didn't think you were strong enough. Watch it, dog boy. Sasuke growled and took a step forward, his hands clenched into fists. Suddenly, he stopped, looking down to find a kunai pointing at his nether regions, courtesy of Naruto, who was glaring at him. Take one more step towards my teammate, Sasuke, and you'll find that you won't be able to restore your clan. Naruto said, his voice dangerously low. Hey, you guys, you should be more quiet. Came a new voice, making them all look towards the source of it to see a silver-haired boy with glasses walking towards them. You guys are rookies just out of the academy, right? Screaming like schoolgirls. Geez, this isn't a picnic. Who the hell are you? Kiba asked rudely, getting a smirk from Naruto. Well said, he said, making Kiba grin in return. Kabuto coughed slightly. I'm Kabuto. But instead of that, look behind you. Behind? Shikamaru asked as they all looked back to see that everyone were glaring at them once more. Those guys behind you are from a megacure, Hidden Rain. They have short tempers. Kabuto explained. Everyone is nervous about the exam. Quiet down before you cause a scene. Naruto grinned as he cleared his throat and started leaking his ki. I thought I told you all to fuck a kunai. Where's the kunai? The genins, who were surprised at the sudden ki attack, were quick to look away. Naruto turned back to Kabuto. Problem solved. Kabuto cleared his throat, trying not to stray too far from the scene he had rehearsed in his head. Well, I can't blame you. You're clueless rookies. You remind me of how I used to be. He said as he opened his pouch and started digging around. Kabuto-san, right? Sakura asked, getting a nod from Kabuto. So, this is your second time? Nope, it's my seventh. This exam is held twice a year, so this is my fourth year. Then, these exams must be really hard. Ino said, making Kiba grin. Either that, or this guy is pathetically weak. Maybe both. Naruto said with a shrug, making Kabuto sputter, before clearing his throat once more. Anyway, he said and pulled a bunch of cards out of his pouch. Allow me to share some info with you cute rookies. With these ninja info cards. Ninja info cards? Ino asked as Kabuto placed the deck of cards on the floor. They are basically cards which have info burned onto them with chakra. I have 4 years worth of info here. Over 200 cards. He said and flipped one over, placing it alone on the floor, before placing a finger on it, while his other hand formed a half-ram seal. They looked blank, but to open the info on these cards. What are you doing? Choji asked as Kabuto started spinning the card around. You can't view them unless I use my chakra, for example. There was a poof of smoke, and when it cleared, the card displayed a map of the elemental countries. Wow, a really easy to read graph. What kind of info is this? Sakura asked, getting a smile from Kabuto. This is the number of those taking the exam, and the breakdown of what country they're from. He explained as Sasuke stepped forward. Do you have cards with info on individuals? Hey, there are some guys you're worried about? Kabuto asked, smirking. Of course. The info on all of this exam's participants isn't perfect, but I do have it. Even of you guys. Say something about these guys and I'll take a look. Sabaku no Gaara. Gaara of the desert, of Sanagakure, Hidden Sand, Rock Lee of Konoha, and Uzumaki Naruto of Konoha. Oh, you know their names. Should be easy then. Naruto smirked in Sasuke's direction. Hey, why would you want information on a lowly weakling such as myself? He asked, getting a glare from Sasuke. Kabuto shuffled the deck, before pulling out 3 cards. Okay, first is Rock Lee. He's a year older than you guys. Mission history. D rank 20 completed, C rank 12 completed. His sensei is Maida Guy. His taijutsu has improved greatly in this year. The rest is nothing impressive. Last year, he gained the attention as a talented new genin, but he did not participate in the exam. Like you guys, this is his first time. On his team are Hyuga Neji and Tenten. He read, before looking at another card. Next is Sabaku no Gaara. Mission history. C rank 8 B rank 1. Wow, a B rank mission as a genin. Since he's a newcomer from a foreign country, I don't have much info, but it seems that he returned from all of his missions without even a scratch. Most of the genins were sweating at that point, except for Naruto's team as Kabuto looked at the final card. Finally is Uzumaki Naruto. Mission history. D rank 22 C rank 1 A rank 1. An A rank? Interesting. His current skills are a mystery to me, since he was trained outside the academy, but rumor has it, he was trained by the Hokage after some kind of incident on his 7th birthday. Apparently, he single-handedly liberated Nami no Kuni, Wave Country, by blowing up the house of the businessman Gatu, and at the same time killing Kirigakure, Hidden Mist, Missing Nin, Momochi Zabuza. And his accomplice, Naruto said with a grin, before turning to Sasuke. Did that quench your thirst for knowledge, Sasuke? Sasuke just glared at Naruto. Konoha, Suna, Aim, Kusa, Grass, Waterfall, Taki, Otto, Sound. Many outstanding genins from the various hidden villages are here to take the exam. Well, Otogakure no Sato, Hidden Sound Village, is a small village just created last year, so there isn't much info, but the rest of the hidden villages are filled with talented youngsters. M makes you lose confidence. Hinata mumbled, only for Kiba to grin and sling an arm around her shoulders. Don't worry, Hinata, we're from Konoha, we can handle anyone easily. So, basically, all the people here are. Yup, Kabuto exclaimed with a grin. Like Lee and Gaara, they are the top elite genins from various countries. Naruto grinned. This is gonna be a blast, he exclaimed, getting the attention of everyone in the room. Alright, everyone, just so you know, fuck with me, and I'll kill you all. He's either really brave, or very stupid. Sakura muttered, standing next to Shikamaru, who sighed. I'm sure he actually can back up his claim. Suddenly, a spiky-haired ninja appeared in the air above Kabuto, tossing 2 kunai and forcing him to dodge. Then, a bandaged nin appeared in front of him, swiping at him with an arm that was equipped with some kind of metallic device. Kabuto dodged easily, smirking. Then, his glasses cracked. What the? He thought, before freezing, his eyes widening. Suddenly, he collapsed to his knees, throwing up. What the hell? Naruto asked, hearing a slight tingle in his ear. Megumi. You heard that, didn't you? He attacks using sound. Megumi muttered, nodding in her cage. That's gonna be somewhat of a bother. Naruto thought and walked up to Kabuto with the others. Oi, Kabuto-san, are you okay? Why yeah, I'm fine. Kabuto mumbled, nodding. How pathetic, especially because, aren't you a 4-year veteran? Bandage said, write this down on your cards. The 3 auto ninjas, definite future Chunins. Spike said, smirking. Suddenly, Naruto appeared between the two, holding them both in a headlock with a kunai at each of their throats. Attacking a comrade of mine, he muttered, glaring at the two. That's something I just can't forgive. Suddenly, an explosion of smoke went off by the blackboard, shocking the genins. Quiet down, you worthless bastards. What's this? Came a roaring voice. The smoke cleared to show a heavily scarred man standing in front of a large group of Chunins. Thanks for waiting. I am Morino Ibiki, the examiner for the Chunin selection exam's first test. The scarred man said, before pointing at Naruto and the auto ninjas. You guys, stop doing as you please before the exam. Do you want to fail already? I apologize, Naruto said, grinning sheepishly. I guess I got a bit carried away. You know, all this bloodlust packed inside this little room. It's enough to get the blood rushing. Ibiki just glared. Here's a good opportunity to say this. There will be no fighting without the permission of the examiner. Even if permission is granted, killing your opponent will not be tolerated. Those pigs that disobey me will be failed immediately. Do I make myself clear? Naruto grinned. Crystal, Ibiki-san, right, guys? He asked, looking down at the auto ninjas, still in his headlock. Yeah, they both said, giving Ibiki a thumbs up. Naruto released them and walked over to Kabuto, helping him to his feet. Nice acting, he whispered, getting a small smile from Kabuto. Thanks. We will now start the first test in the Chunin exam. Instead of your current seating arrangements, Ibiki said and held up a small piece of wood with a number on it. You will pick one of these tabs and sit in the seat assigned to you. We will then hand out the exams. As they headed towards Ibiki, Kabuto whispered to Naruto. The point to this test is cheating. Thanks. Naruto whispered and looked to his teammates, using sign language to spread the word. The two nodded in acknowledgement. As they sat at their desks, Naruto was bored, reaching into his pocket to pull out a pair of mirrored sunglasses in preparation for the test, putting them on. Do not turn you tests over, Ibiki said, holding up a piece of chalk. Listen closely to what I'm about to say. He said and started writing on the blackboard. There are many important rules to this first test. I'll write it on the board while I explain, but questions will not be allowed, so listen carefully. The first rule. You guys will all start off with 10 points. The test is made up of 10 questions and each one is worth a point, but this test uses a subtraction system. Basically, if you answer all the questions correctly, you keep your 10 points. But say if you miss 3 questions, you will lose 3 points and will have 7. The second rule. This is a team test. Whether you pass or not will be determined by the combined score of your teammates. So, each team will compete to see how many points they can hold on to from the initial total of 30. Wait a second, Sakura shouted. I don't understand this initial points system either, but why is it a team test? Shut up, you don't have the right to question me. There is a reason for this. Be quiet and listen, Ibiki said, narrowing his eyes. Okay, and the most important rule. The third rule is that during the exam, anyone caught by the testing officers doing sneaky activities, namely cheating, will have 2 points subtracted for every offense. Ibiki said, smirking in an evil-looking way. Realize that the pathetic ones that get caught cheating will be destroying themselves. As shinobis trying to achieve the level of Chunin, be proud ninjas. That settles it. The point is cheating. A proud ninja isn't exactly the most honorable man on earth, no? Naruto thought, getting a mental nod of agreement from Megumi. And the final rule. Those that lose all their initial points during the test and those that don't answer any questions correctly will be failed along with their 2 teammates. Ibiki exclaimed, shocking the genins. The exam will last 1 hour. Begin. Naruto immediately activated his eye, unnoticed by the examiners, and looked over to his teammates. Shikamaru had started writing on his own accord, while Kiba was having some troubles. Naruto clicked his pen against the table a couple of times, a Morse code that they had invented the day before. Flashback. The genins were just about to leave the bridge, when Shikamaru stopped them. "Wait up, guys," he said, stopping his teammates as he pulled out 2 pieces of paper, quickly writing something down on both of them, before handing them over to the two. Naruto took his and looked at it, before raising an eyebrow. "Morse code? I don't think you've studied enough, Shikamaru. This isn't Morse code." "That's right," Shikamaru said, smirking. "I already know Morse code, but so does plenty of other ninjas. In case we get cut off from being able to speak with each other, we will be able to communicate in a way that no one else will understand. Well, they'll understand it, but they won't be getting the right words. If my calculations are correct, the most common words used with this Morse code will translate to a bunch of profanities in the normal Morse. So, if I were to tell you something," Kiba mumbled, and Naruto continued. "Others would hear something like, 'Fuck those fucking fuckers?' Pretty much," Shikamaru said with a smirk. "Make sure to study." "I will," Naruto said and pocketed the note. "Thanks, Shikamaru." "Yeah, thanks, Shika," Kiba said with a grin as he turned to leave. "I better study right away, otherwise, it'll be forgotten by tomorrow." Flashback end. Kiba. Kiba looked over to Naruto and tapped his own pen against the table. "What do I do?" "You have 4 eyes, Kiba. Use them." Kiba's eyes widened with realization as he picked up Akamaru and placed him on his head. "Thanks. No problem, pal. Good luck, guys." Shikamaru tapped, making Naruto smirk. "I don't need luck. I'm good." He activated his X-ray and zoom function, looking over the tests, finding the answers and copying them. Ibiki looked puzzled, knowing Morse code. Everyone else who'd heard were also puzzled, while Naruto and Kiba were grinning at Ibiki's look. When 44 minutes had passed, Naruto thought of something, and even though he'd already finished his test, he wanted to do it. Lose 2 points every time you get caught cheating. Naruto though, a smirk forming on his face. "Hey, Megami? I'm all for it, Naruto-kun," Megami said, grinning inside her cage. Naruto chuckled as he stood up, making the examiners look at him strangely. "Can I help you?" Ibiki asked, to which Naruto shook his head. "Nah, I'm good," he said and walked up to a 20-year-old genin from AIM in front of him. A long-haired, curvy genin with a C cup. He leaned against her desk and stared at her paper before looking over at her. "Hi, if you'll excuse me, I'll just take a little look at your paper," he said, pulling down his shades to wink at her. Ibiki stared at Naruto for a moment, blinking, then, he started shaking, both from anger and amusement. The examiners looked at him, unsure of what to do. Ibiki just nodded once, indicating that Naruto had been caught only once. Naruto just kept grinning and held out his hand to the staring woman. "I'm Naruto, nice to meet you." The genin took his hand, smirking. "Yutaka, you're pretty bold, you know that?" "So I've been told. This your first time in Konoha?" Naruto asked, getting a nod from the genin. "It is. Megami-chan?" Megami's grin widened as she started pumping pheromones through Naruto's body. Yutaka felt her body heat up as her heart started beating faster. She involuntarily blushed while Naruto grinned. "Then, after this exam is over, maybe I can take you out? You know, show you the many sights of Konoha?" Yutaka's blush intensified as she found herself staring into Naruto's eyes. Ibiki cleared his throat, getting the attention of the two. "Are you done?" "No," Naruto said as he straightened himself. "But I'm guessing you're not gonna allow me to stand here all day." "That's right," Ibiki said, narrowing his eyes. "Back to your seat." Naruto groaned as he walked back to his seat, sitting down with a pout. As Naruto sat down, Ibiki looked out over the classroom. "Okay, and now? We will begin the 10th question. Now, before we get to it, I'd like to go over the added rules for this question." Shock went through the genins as the door opened, and the puppet user from Suna, who'd been to the bathroom, entered the room. "Hey, nice timing," Ibiki said, smirking. "Was your doll playing beneficial?" The puppet user twitched, surprised that he'd been caught. "Just sit down," Ibiki said, and the puppet user complied. "I'll now explain. These are the rules of desperation. First, for this 10th question, you must decide whether you will take it or not. Choose." Another Suna genin, a girl with her blonde hair tied in 4 ponytails, shouted. What happens if we choose not to? Ibiki chuckled darkly. If you choose not to, your points will be reduced to 0. You fail, along with your 2 teammates. Everyone started to shout about how, of course, they were going to take it, but Ibiki interrupted them all. And now, the other rule. He said, silencing them all. If you choose to take it, and answer incorrectly, that person will lose the right to ever take the Chunin selection exam again. What kind of stupid rule is that? Kiba roared. There are guys here who have taken the exam before. Ibiki chuckled darkly again. Only this chuckle was the kind one would use in front of someone when taking extreme pleasure in ripping their guts out. You guys were unlucky. This year, it's my rules. But I am giving you a way out. Those that aren't confident can choose not to take it, and try again next year. He said, smirking at them all. Now, let's begin the 10th question. Those that do not wish to take it, raise your hand. Once your number is confirmed, leave. Naruto looked around and saw that Shikamaru was not in the least worried. It didn't matter to him if he remained a genin. But Kiba was fidgeting, clearly nervous. Naruto smiled lightly as he started tapping his desk. Relax, Keebs. Even if you'll have to remain a genin, you can still become clan head, no? Don't worry about it. Of course, everyone who knew Morse code just heard a bunch of profanities. Shikamaru laid his head against the desk, Kiba steeled his resolve, and Naruto leaned back, calm as ever. Several genins quit, causing their teams to quit as well. Then, when it seemed like no one else was going to quit, Ibiki spoke up. Alright, does anyone else want to quit? No one answered. Well then, to the 78 who remain. Congratulations on passing the first test. Everyone froze, staring at him, shocked. Wait, what do you mean? Sakura asked, wiping sweat from her bigger-than-average brow. We already pass? What about the 10th question? Ibiki grinned in a friendly manner, which was strange, since everything about him was anything but friendly. There never was such a thing. Or, you could say that those 2 choices were the 10th question. Hey, then what were the first 9 questions for? The blonde-haired Suna genin shouted. They were pointless then. They were not pointless, Ibiki said, letting out a chuckle. They had already served their intended purpose. He said, turning serious. To test your individual information gathering ability. That purpose. Naruto looked to the side to see Hinata staring at him, trying to find out how he did it. He grinned and pulled down his shades, jabbing his bionic eye with his pen. First, as the rules explained, success on this test is based on the whole team doing well. This puts pressure on each member not to mess things up for their teammates. Ibiki explained, looking over the genins. But the questions on this test were not the types that a mere genin could answer. Because of that, I'm sure most of the people came to the conclusion that to score points, you'd have to cheat. Basically, the premise of this test is to cheat. As cheating targets, we had 2 or so Chunins, who knew all the answers, mixed into the crowd. To help you guys out. Piece of cake, Naruto said, smirking. Ibiki chuckled and started untying his bandana. But those who cheat poorly, fail, of course. He said and removed the bandana, causing many of the genins to recoil in fright. His head was covered with horrible burns, screwholes and scars. Because, at times, information is more important than life. And on missions in the battlefield, people risk their lives to get their hands on it. Naruto raised an eyebrow. This guy has been through a lot, he thought, his respect for the man rising. A real veteran. If the enemy or third party notices you, there is no guarantee the info will be accurate. Ibiki said as he put on his bandana again. I want you to remember this. Important information in your hands can be a powerful weapon for your comrades and for the village. So, we had you gather information through cheating. This clearly separated those that did not have the right abilities. But, I don't understand the final question. The Suna genin said, making Ibiki smile. But, question 10, is the true purpose of this test. Let me explain. The 10th question, the take it or not take it decision. Obviously, these were painful choices. Those who choose the latter fail along with their teammates. Those who choose to take it could lose the chance to ever take the test again. A true leap of faith. Naruto nodded to himself. It was a very good way to weed out those who couldn't take the pressure. How about these 2 choices? Say you guys become Chunins. Your mission is to steal a secret document. The amount of ninjas, their abilities, etc. is unknown to you. And, of course, there could be traps set all around you. Now, do you accept, or not accept? Ibiki asked, turning serious once more. Naruto was starting to get pissed off. Was this guy bipolar? Because you don't want to die. Because you don't want your comrades hurt. Can you avoid the dangerous mission? The answer is no. No matter what the danger, there are missions you can't avoid. The ability to be courageous, and survive any hardship. This is the ability needed to become a Chunin captain. Those who can't put their destinies on the line, who cling to the uncertain future of, there's always next year, and then walk away from their chance. Those pieces of trash, who can only make such cowardly choices, don't have the right to become a Chunin. That's how I feel. Those who choose to take it, answered the tough 10th questions correctly. You will be able to survive any troubles you face in the future. You have made it through the entrance. First test of the Chunin selection exam is now finished. I wish you guys luck. Hell yes, we'll survive anything, Naruto exclaimed, pumping his left fist into the air. Ibiki noticed the scar around Naruto's elbow and smirked to himself. Uzumaki Naruto. Interesting guy. Suddenly, something caught his eye, and he stepped back just in time for a ball of cloth to come flying through the window. 2 kunai flew out of the bundle of cloth and stuck to the ceiling, unfurling the cloth, revealing a purple-haired woman wearing a tan trench coat. On the cloth was the text, Second Exam Proctor Mitarashi Anko. You guys, this is no time to be celebrating. The woman, obviously named Mitarashi Anko, exclaimed. I am the examiner for the second test, Mitarashi Anko. The hard part starts here. Are you ready? She shouted and pumped her fist into the air. Ibiki came out from behind the cloth, grasped the atmosphere. Anko blushed, but looked around, raising an eyebrow. Then, she turned to Ibiki. 78? Ibiki, you left 26 teams? The test was too easy this time. Ibiki shrugged. This time, there are a lot of outstanding ones. He said, getting a scoff from Anko. Bah, that's fine. I'll at least cut them in half in the second test. She said, causing the genins to sweat. Then, when they saw her shiver and smirk, they almost freaked out. Ah, I'm getting excited. I'll explain everything tomorrow. Ask your Junin senseis for the location of the second test. Dismissed. -1 hour later. Naruto, Shikamaru and Kiba were at Ichiraku Ramen together with Kakashi. Congratulations on passing, you three. Kakashi praised, smiling at the three. I must admit that I wasn't sure you'd pass, what with Ibiki being in charge of the first test. He has the reputation of being a sadist. He's the village's top torture and interrogation expert, who focuses the most on psychological torture. They chose a guy like that to be the proctor? Shikamaru asked with wide eyes, before sighing. We got lucky. It wasn't luck, Naruto said, smiling. It was like he said, we got a choice, and we did what a Chunin would do. We took it, even knowing the consequences. Kakashi smiled at his students. I'm proud of you three. Once the second exam is finished, I'll teach you all something new. Ha! Kiba exclaimed, pumping his fist into the air. Sweet, Naruto said, patting Shikamaru on the back. Come on, you two. TCH, troublesome. Shikamaru muttered, before clearing his throat. Hurrah! Naruto shrugged. That's better than nothing, I guess. So, Kakashi-sensei, where's the second test? Kiba asked, and Kakashi put a hand on his chin. Training area 44, 10 a.m. He said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. If we get there at 10, we'll be late, right? He asked, getting an eye smile from Kakashi. You'll be fashionably late. The three genin smirked at each other, even Shikamaru, and Kakashi chuckled. Remember, a good excuse is everything. And with that, they started planning. The next day, at training area 44, 10 a.m., Naruto, Kiba and Shikamaru came walking up to the gathered genin. They walked up to the rest of the rookie 9 and stood lazily at the front, while the proctor glared at them. You're late, and you missed the start of my explanation. Kiba waved, smiling. Sorry, I ran across a beautiful young lady on the way here. She asked me to dance for her, and I did. Shikamaru was next, smiling lazily. Sorry I'm late. A bird died in front of me on the way here, and I had to help the parents plan the funeral. Naruto was last, scratching the back of his head with a smile. Yeah, sorry. I got lost on the road of life. I took a right turn when I should have gone left, and I fell down a cliff. Then, I had to climb all the way up. When I got up, I realized that I had ripped my clothes, so I had to go home and change. Anko's sweat dropped, glaring at them as her eye twitched. Kakashi's genins? The three nodded, all of them smiling proudly as they saw everyone staring at them strangely. Meanwhile, in the Hokage Tower, Sarutobi and the Chunin senseis were gathered, staring at Sarutobi's crystal ball. Sarutobi had, at Kakashi's request, checked on the second exam, and now, Kakashi was actually crying tears of joy. I'm so proud of them. Next, I'll introduce them to Icha. A loud, no, could be heard all the way to Area 44. Anyway, Anko said, clearing her throat. Like I said, this is the Forest of Death. You'll soon find out why it's called that. Naruto snorted. Like that'll scare us. Anko smiled at him. You're spirited. Quicker than most genins could react. A kunai ended up in her hand, and Naruto only had the chance to see the glint of steel, before it sliced his cheek, and Anko poofed in behind him. He could easily feel her assets being pressed against his back as she leaned against him. Kids like you are quickly killed, she whispered as she licked up the blood flowing from a cut on his cheek. Spraying that red blood I love so much. Naruto shuddered and turned to Kiba, who was blushing, wide-eyed. Hey, Keebs, is it wrong for me to be turned on right now? Hell, I'm turned on right now. Shikamaru said, sighing. Troublesome women. Anko was about to say something, when a kunai appeared in her hand, and she turned around to see a woman with a straw hat holding out her thrown kunai, with her tongue. A freakishly long tongue. Here's your kunai. Why thank you, Anko said, smiling sweetly. But, you know, don't sneak up behind me, unless you want to die. The woman smirked, dropping the kunai to the ground as she retracted her tongue. No, I just get excited when I see red blood. Plus, you cut my precious hair, I couldn't help it. Sorry about that, Anko said as the woman walked back to her teammates. Naruto scrunched up his nose in disgust. How does that tongue fit inside her mouth? Looks like we have a lot of bloodthirsty ones in this test. Anko said, smirking. This should be fun, she said, reaching into her coat, taking out a wad of papers. Now, before we start the second test, there's something I have to pass out. You must sign these agreement forms. What for? Naruto asked as he took the paper she handed him. There will be deaths in this one, and if I don't have you sign these, it will all be my responsibility. Anko explained, chuckling. I'm going to explain the second test. Then, you can sign it afterwards, and then, each team will check in at that booth behind me. Anko pointed at a booth near the fence, where three bored-looking Chunins sat, obviously wanting to be somewhere else. I'll now explain the second test. Simply put, you will attempt the ultimate survival. Shikamaru sighed. Survival. This test sucks. Naruto and Kiba chuckled quietly at Shikamaru's attitude. First, I'll explain the area in which it will take place. Anko said and unfurled a scroll, showing a map of the forest. Around the Forest of Death are 44 locked gates. Forest, river, and a tower in the center. From the gates to the tower, it's around 10 kilometers. During the survival in here, you will be asked to complete a certain task. Using your many weapons and jutsu, you will compete in a no rules scroll battle. Scroll? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, Anko said with a nod as she held out 2 scrolls. You will fight over these 2 scrolls, the heaven and earth. There are 78 people here, meaning 26 teams. Half, 13, will get the heaven scroll, and other 13 teams will each get the earth scroll. To pass this test, your team must make it to the tower with both scrolls. So, 13 teams will lose their scrolls. Shikamaru muttered. At least half the teams will definitely fail. But there's a time limit. Anko continued. This second test will last 120 hours. Exactly 5 days. 5 days? Yamanaka Ino exclaimed, wide-eyed. What about dinner? Choji roared, shocked. Shit, so loud. Shikamaru muttered, sticking his finger into his ear. You're on your own. The forest is full of food. Just watch out for man-eating beasts, poisonous insects, poisonous plants, etc. Anko said, smiling cruelly. And 13 teams passing is not likely. As the days go on, the distance to the goal will become farther, and the time to rest will become shorter. And the area is crawling with enemies. You won't get much sleep. So, not only will some fail by losing the scroll, but some will die from the harshness of the course. She explained, before holding up her hand. Now, I'll talk about what will disqualify you. She raised a finger. First, those that don't make it to the tower with both scroll within the time limit. She raised another finger. Second, those who lose a teammate or those who have a teammate killed. As a rule, there is no quitting in the middle. You will be in the forest for 5 days, or less, depending on when you get to the tower. And one more rule. You must not look inside the scroll until you make it to the tower. What happens if you do? Naruto asked, getting a smirk from Anko. That will be a surprise for anyone who does. A Chunin will be asked to handle classified information. This is to test your trustworthiness. That's it for the explanations. Exchange the 3 forms for your scroll, then choose a gate to get ready for the start. Anko said, before grinning at them all. A final word of advice. Don't die. Well, no shit. Naruto muttered as the Chunins in the booth covered it with a curtain. It's about time to exchange for the scrolls. One of them announced. Naruto and his team signed the forms, went to the booth, got an earth scroll, and then headed off, ready to enter gate 9, where an instructor was waiting, unlocking it. Why 9? Kiba asked, getting a grin from Naruto. It's my lucky number. Alright, Shikamaru said as he crouched down, drawing in the dirt. Did you all get the map memorized? He asked, getting nods from his teammates. Good. We'll zigzag to the tower, which gives us a better chance of finding other teams. From here, the tower is to the north. Now, we'll go in a line. Kiba, you're in front, scouting with your nose. Naruto, you're after him, using your zoom and X-ray, and I'll be last, ready to support you in case of an attack. Sounds good, but my eye drains my chakra rapidly. Naruto said, and Shikamaru nodded. I know, that's why Kiba is in front. You will turn your eye on and off, and if Kiba finds someone, you'll use your eye to see exactly where they are. Got it? We got it, Kiba said, nodding. However, who holds the scroll? Naruto takes the scroll, since he is in the middle. That way, it'll be harder for others to steal it. The second exam begins now. Was suddenly heard in the speakers, and the instructor opened the gate, allowing them to enter, which they did, speeding inside. After running for 30 minutes, Kiba tensed up, sniffing around. Naruto. Naruto activated his eye and looked around. There are 3 of them. He said, not turning his head, hardly even moving his lips. One on our right, one on our left, and one right behind us. Shikamaru spoke up. Let's take a break, he said out loud, and they stopped. I gotta talk to you guys. The 3 crouched down, turned to each other. How about now? Shikamaru whispered as Naruto folded out his cannon. Kiba slid 3 kunai from his sleeve while Shikamaru already had one in his hand. Directly behind each of us. Naruto said calmly as a quarter of his chakra gauge was filled with wind chakra. Let's go, now. The 3 quickly turned around, Kiba and Shikamaru launching their kunai while Naruto fired his cannon. The blast of air flew through the bushes, slicing up a path of destruction. 2 screams were heard, signaling that Kiba and Naruto had as their targets. Naruto grinned as he saw blood pooling from where he had fired his cannon and turned to the trees behind Shikamaru. At least one of your comrades is dead. You have already failed the test. You have a choice right now. You can either come out here and give us your scroll, or you can run away and let us hunt you down. Trust me, running wouldn't work. All they got was silence, while Naruto turned on his eye to see the aim genin in the trees, contemplating it. Then, he reached into his pouch and threw a scroll at them, which Shikamaru caught with ease. Heaven, Shikamaru told the others, who nodded. You can leave now. Naruto told the aim genin, before his team took off towards the tower again. Kiba grinned as they took to the trees, jumping from branch to branch. This is sweet. It's been less than an hour, and we've already gotten the scroll we need. Now, the only problem is keeping both of them until we get to the tower. Shikamaru spoke, and Naruto nodded. I'm sorry, Shika, but we need to increase our speed. If we go at top speed from here, without running into any trouble, we should be there in less than an hour. It'll be troublesome, but I can speed up. The less time we spend in this forest, the happier I'll be. True that, Kiba said with a nod, and all 3 picked up their speed. After 30 more minutes of running, Naruto stopped, looking around wildly as sweat broke out in his forehead. Whoa, whoa, stop, he ordered, and the others landed next to him. Kiba stared at him strangely. What's up, Naruto? There's something vile here. Naruto muttered and pointed east. There. He mumbled, and then pointed to the west. And there. Akamaru, who was inside Kiba's jacket, yipped, shaking. Akamaru senses something too, Kiba said as he sniffed around. I can also smell something, but it's not much. It's chakra, but it smells dirty? Naruto asked, getting a nod from Kiba. That's it, let's rest for a couple of minutes, Shikamaru said as he sat down. They had stopped next to a flowing river, making Shikamaru sigh. We've strayed a little off course, he said and pointed to the northwest. If we follow this river, we should get to the tower. Naruto crouched down next to the river and stuck his hand in, before wiping it across his brow. That chakra. Coming from the east. It was demon chakra, he said, making the others go wide-eyed. How do you know that? Kiba asked, and Naruto sighed. I'm gonna tell you something that's considered an S-ranked secret in the village, punishable by death if you reveal it to anyone else. It's your choice if you want to hear it or not. I'll keep it a secret, Kiba said, getting a nod of agreement from Shikamaru. Naruto took a deep breath, before telling them. As you know, the Kyuubi attacked the village 12 years ago. The younger generation were told that my dad killed it, but that's a lie. He didn't kill the Kyuubi. He sealed it. However, the only thing that could contain the Kyuubi's power was a newborn baby, whose chakra coils hadn't developed yet. And that baby was you. Shikamaru concluded, nodding, causing Naruto to blink in confusion. Shikamaru smiled. I always knew you had some kind of connection to the Kyuubi. I mean, your birthday is October 10th, the villagers hate you, and everyone always calls you demon. But I don't think you're a demon. I asked my dad about you once. The only thing he asked me was, tell me, Shikamaru, if you saw a prison, holding a murderer, would you consider the prison a murderer? I didn't know what he meant back then. I guess he meant that you were the prison, and Kyuubi was the prisoner. That's strange, Kiba said, blinking. My mom told me something like that. Only, she talked about a scroll and a sealed kunai. So, you're not ignorant like the villagers? Naruto asked, getting a grin from Kiba. I know for a fact that you're not a demon. First, you don't smell like that chakra from before, and second, you risked your life to save Kakashi and Wave. Besides, we've been friends for quite a while now. Even if you were a demon, I know you don't want to kill us. I'd say the same thing, but that'd be too troublesome. I'll just say, I feel the same way, Shikamaru said, getting a smile from Naruto. Thanks, guys. That means a lot to me, he said and got up. Well, let's go. Yeah, minus 35 minutes later. Kiba grunted, getting the attention of his teammates. We've got a tail. Naruto chuckled and reached into his kunai pouch, taking out a scroll. It had the kanji for earth on it. He grinned as he dropped it, making the others go wide-eyed. What are you doing? Kiba hissed, while Naruto pulled out two other scrolls, one with the kanji for earth on it, and the other with heaven. A trap, Naruto said as an explosion was heard behind them. Kiba stared at Naruto, wide-eyed. Naruto elaborated. When we headed away from the river, I made a fake scroll, with an exploding note in it. As soon as someone picked it up, boom. You're evil, Naruto, Kiba said, grinning. Naruto grinned as well. I know. The three landed in front of the tower, and Naruto scratched the back of his head. You know, maybe the ones behind us weren't chasing us? Team 7 quickly headed inside, not really wanting to think about it. They got to an empty room. Hey, it's empty, Kiba mumbled, getting a nod from Naruto. Your powers of observation are stunning, Kibs. Shut up, asshole. Look at that, Shikamaru said and pointed at wall at the far end of the room. High above them was a text. Naruto read it and raised an eyebrow. Without heaven. What the hell? He asked and pointed at a segment of the text. Words are missing there. This is probably about the scrolls, Shikamaru said, reading the text over and over. I think they are telling us to open up the scrolls. Naruto reached into his kunai pouch, taking out the scrolls. He handed one to Kiba and took a deep breath, preparing to open the scroll. Alright, open them, Shikamaru ordered, and the two ripped open the scrolls, screwing their eyes shut as if the scrolls were going to explode or something. The three slowly opened their eyes and stared at the scroll. They all recognized the inky patterns on the scrolls. These are summoning seals, Naruto exclaimed and threw away the scroll, while Kiba did the same, just in time for them to explode into smoke. The smoke cleared, and the three genin stared. Iruka-sensei, Naruto exclaimed, while the smiling Chunin in front of them grinned. Hey, long time no see, what's going on? Kiba asked, still not really able to grasp the fact that their academy sensei had just appeared in front of them. Why the hell were you summoned? At the end of this second test, it's set up so we Chunins meet up with the exam takers, and I was allowed to be the one to greet you. Greet us? Shikamaru asked, getting a nod from Iruka, who picked up a pocket watch, staring at it. Wow, 1 hour and 36 minutes. That's a new record. He spoke, grinning. The second test. All 3 of you pass. Congratulations. Ah, Kiba exclaimed, snapping his fingers. I get it. If we would have opened the scrolls during the test, you would have appeared. What were you going to do, sensei? You are sharp, Kiba. Iruka said, chuckling as he picked up the earth scroll, holding it up. As you may have figured out, this test's rules are set up to test your ability to perform missions correctly. So, if you were to break these rules and open the scrolls, what would have happened? Shikamaru asked, getting a smile from Iruka. Those exam takers would be put in a condition of unconsciousness for the remainder of the test period. Those were my orders. Hey, sensei, Naruto said, pointing at the wall. What's the meaning of the writing on the wall? Seems like there's a word missing. We can't figure it out. Ah, Iruka said and pointed at the text. I'm also here to explain that. Read it. This is the motto of the Chunin written by Hokage-sama. Motto? Shikamaru asked, scratching his head. This is becoming too troublesome for my tastes. Iruka chuckled. You haven't changed, Shikamaru. Anyway, the heaven in this paragraph refers to the human mind, and the earth refers to the human body. He explained, if you lack heaven, seek wisdom, be prepared. That's basically, for example, if someone's weakness is his or her brain, gain knowledge and prepare yourself for the missions. If you lack earth, run in the fields, seek advantages. So, if someone's weakness is stamina, then it's saying that you must continue to train hard. And if you have both heaven and earth, you can succeed even the most dangerous missions. So, basically, all missions become safe and easy. I have to agree with Shika. Naruto said, scratching his chin. This is way too troublesome. Yeah, why say it like that? Kiba asked, glaring at the text. Why not just write, if you lack a brain, study, and, if you lack strength, train. You 3 are annoying. Iruka muttered, groaning. I'm trying to teach you something here, he shouted, before clearing his throat. Anyway, the words that represent a Chunin. The person word from the scrolls goes there. The last sentence is, these rules will guide a person's extremes. However, since you absolutely smashed the previous record by 4 hours, I don't think you lack neither earth nor heaven. However, train hard, get stronger, and advance through the ranks. Make our Hokage, and the Hokages before him proud. The 3 genin saluted Iruka. Asu. Yes, sir. I'm sorry for ever doubting that you'd get this far. Iruka said, smiling proudly. Now, go ahead and train, rest, eat, whatever you want. It's all in here. Food. Kiba and Naruto roared in unison as they rushed past Iruka, heading into the room behind him, while Shikamaru trailed behind lazily. Meanwhile, in another part of the tower, Sarutobi, Anko and the Junin senseis were in front of a monitor, watching a tape that a Chunin had just brought in. Holy crap, Anko muttered as she stared at the tape, while Kakashi smiled with pride. On the tape was his team, waltzing into the tower without a scratch, 1 hour and 36 minutes after the exam started. They smashed the previous record by 4 hours. Asuma exclaimed, blinking. How the hell did they do that? They're just that good, Asuma. Kakashi said, feeling extremely prideful. How's your team doing there, guy? He asked, turning to his spandex-wearing rival. Have they finished yet? Kakashi. Your team burns with the fires of youth. They are a true inspiration to us all. Guy exclaimed, while Kakashi just turned to him lazily. You say something? Ah, what a hip response, my youthful rival. Yosh, I shall work harder to show you that youth overcomes hipness. Skip. The end of the second exam. Naruto and his team stood with the other 18 genins that passed, in front of the Junin senseis, the proctors, some Chunins and the Hokage. Sarutobi cleared his throat. First off, for the second test, congratulations on passing. Guy smirked and looked at Kakashi. Your team isn't too bad. Maybe they were lucky. But as long as my team is around, getting any further is impossible. Since, from now, it's all about real ability. Well, with youth, there are sweet times, and there are sour times, Kakashi? Kakashi just turned to Guy, staring at him lazily. Huh? You say something, guy? Guy snapped and turned his back on Kakashi, clutching his fist. Hey, not bad, my rival Kakashi. You're cool in that way, and it really gets on my nerves. Kakashi just looked clueless. Naruto looked down at Akamaru, to see him shaking inside Kiba's jacket. He knew why. Gaara, the sand genin, wasn't far away, and he was leaking demon chakra and bloodlust. Hey, Red, Naruto said, getting the attention from the redhead. You know, you should keep that nasty chakra of yours bottled up. You're scaring the pup. Shut up, Gaara muttered while Naruto grinned. There's no need for such hostility. Just stop radiating that psycho killer vibe. Sarutobi almost groaned when he saw Naruto about to start a fight. So, he spoke up. Now, for the coming third test, but before I explain that, there's something else I'd like you to know. It concerns the true reason for this exam. Why do we have all the allied countries taking the exam together? To promote friendship among the countries. To raise the level of shinobi. I don't want you to be confused about the true meaning. This exam is, Sarutobi said and paused dramatically, puffing on his pipe. A replacement for war among the allied countries. He said, shocking the genins present, save for Naruto, who had already been told a long time ago by Sarutobi. If you go back in time, the current allies were enemies who fought each other over who would rule. In order to prevent wasteful fighting, the stage that these countries chose for battle, that is the origins of this Chunin selection exam. Then, this isn't for Chunin promotions? Rock Lee asked, wide-eyed. It is a fact that this exam decides which shinobis have what it takes to become a Chunin. But on the other hand, this exam has another side, where each country's ninja risks their own life to protect their land's prestige. Prestige? Ino asked, getting a nod from Sarutobi. Watching this third exam will be leaders and influential individuals from many countries who make up the clients of the shinobi. And the leaders of the countries will also be there to watch each of your battles. If the strength of a country is clear, that country will receive more clients. And conversely, if seen as weak, they will lose clients. Sarutobi said and paused for a moment, letting the information sink in. And this will signal to potential enemy countries that, our village has this much power. So, WI will send a political message to the outsiders. But why? Kiba asked. Why do we have to risk our lives in battle? Surprisingly, it was Naruto who answered. Think about it, Keebs, would you rather have a couple of genins fighting each other, with around 100 deaths at most, or thousands of deaths in a useless war? Think of it as miniature wars. Sarutobi nodded. While that is true, the strength of the country is the strength of the village. The strength of the village is the strength of the shinobi. And a shinobi's true strength is born only through life-risking battle. This exam is a place to see each country's strength, and to show off your own. It only has meaning because lives are at risk. And that's why those that have come before you have fought in the Chunin exam for this dream that is meaningful. But then, why do you say stuff about it being for friendship? Tenten of Team Guy asked, looking thoroughly confused. I said it in the beginning, I don't want you to confuse the purpose of this. By losing life and establishing balance. This is the shape of friendship in the world of the shinobi. Sarutobi said calmly. Before we begin the third test, I will tell you one more thing. This is not just a test. This is a life-risking battle, with your dreams and your country's prestige on the line. I don't care what it is. Just hurry up and tell us what this life-risking battle entails. Relax, Red, you in a hurry? Others may want to hear what Hokage-sama has to say. Naruto said, narrowing his eyes at the redhead. The Junins and Sarutobi were shocked. Naruto never called the old man Hokage-sama. Sarutobi cleared his throat. Yes, I'd like to now explain the third test, but... Actually, cough, a new voice interrupted as a man blurred into view in front of Sarutobi, on his knees. I apologize, Hokage-sama. From here on, as the referee, will you please allow me, Gekko Hayate, to explain? By all means, Sarutobi said with a nod. The man stood up and turned to the genins. He looked sick, with bags around his eyes and a cough. Hello, everyone, I'm Hayate. Before the third test, there's something I'd like you to do. Hayate-san's disease is still plaguing him, I see. Naruto thought, frowning. It's a preliminary for the third test to decide who gets to participate in the main event. Hayate explained, coughing again. The first and second test may have been too easy this year. We have a bit too many people remaining. According to Chunin exam rules, we must have a preliminary and reduce the number of participants for the third test. As Hokage-sama indicated earlier, there will be many guests at the third tests, so the fights could take too long. We are limited in time. He explained and paused, letting the information sink in. So, anyway, those who are not feeling well, those who feel like quitting after these explanations, please come forward now. Since we'll be starting the preliminary immediately. After a couple of seconds of silence, Kabuto raised his hand. I'm going to quit. Hayate stared at him for a while, before looking at his clipboard. You're Yakushi Kabuto-kun from the Leaf, right? You may leave now. Does anyone else want to retire? Oh, I forgot to tell you that. From now on, it will be individual battling. You may raise your hand based on your own judgment. No one else raised their hand. Well, since no one else wants to quit, let's begin. There are basically no rules. The fight continues until one of you dies, is knocked out, or admits your defeat. But when I decide that the winner has clearly been established, since we don't want to pointlessly increase the amount of corpses, I'll jump in and stop things. And the object that controls your destinies is. A hatch on the wall opened up to reveal a large scoreboard. This electric scoreboard will show the matchups for each battle. Now, this is sudden, but let's announce the two names of the first fight. The screen flickered to light, and two names popped up. Uchiha Sasuke versus Akado Yoroi. Hayate coughed. Will everyone except the two participants move to the upper level? Everyone, save for Sasuke and Yoroi, walked up to the stands, where Team 7 met their sensei, who was leaning against the wall, reading his icha. Yo, sensei. How's life? Good, Naruto. How's yours? Couldn't be better. With that, they turned their attention to the two combatants. The match ended quickly. Sasuke had stolen a move from Lee and used it to create his own move, which he called the Shi Renden, Lion Combo. Two new names flickered onto the screen. Sabaku no Tamari versus Tenten. This match was a little longer. Tenten was a long-range fighter, just like Tamari. Tenten threw her weapons, and Tamari blew them away with her fan. That's the way it went for 10 minutes, before Tamari finally decided to end it, beating the crap out of Tenten. Tsuchi Kin versus Nara Shikamaru. This match made Naruto laugh. Shikamaru used his shadow to make Kin slam her head into the wall. Hyuga Hinata versus Hyuga Neji. This match pissed Naruto off to no end. How someone could do that to his own blood was beyond him. Neji kept talking about fate and kept mentally torturing Hinata. Naruto had to admit that Hinata was strong, though. Not physically, but mentally. Every time she got knocked down, she got up again. When Neji was about to strike her heart, the Junins jumped down and stopped him. Neji spouted some nonsense about favoring the main house. Aburame Shino versus Abumi Zaku. The match was slightly brutal. There wasn't much fighting, but Shino sent his bugs into the pipes in Zaku's arms, jamming them. When Zaku tried to use them, the pipes blew up, taking his right arm and almost his left with them. I sympathize with that. Naruto spoke, rubbing his left elbow. Poor guy. Next was the battle of the fangirls, Haruno Sakura versus Yamanaka Ino. It was boring, to say the least. They just kept talking through the battle, threw some punches, talked some more, and then, it ended with a draw. Worst match ever. Naruto muttered, shaking his head. Next was Rock Lee versus Inuzuka Kiba. Kiba was quickly taken out. Even though he fought bravely, once Guy had given the permission, Lee had taken off his weights, and proceeded to pound Kiba into unconsciousness. They looked to the screen, and two new names appeared. Sabaku no Kankuro versus Sabaku no Gaara. Kankuro immediately raised his hand. I quit. Gaara, who'd been walking towards the stairs, glared at Kankuro before walking back to his spot. Akamichi Choji versus Kinuta Dosu. This was an extremely quick match. Choji used his Nikuden Sensha and charged at Dosu, who jumped out of the way, causing Choji to rush straight into the wall. Then, Dosu punched the inflated Choji and flicked the sound amplifier on his arm, causing a shockwave to go through Choji's body, immediately knocking him out. That leaves only one match. Uzumaki Naruto and Masumi Tsurugi, please come down here. Naruto jumped down along with his opponent, a masked Konoha ninja with glasses. Unlike Yoroi, even against little punks, I show no mercy. Tsurugi said calmly, gazing coldly into Naruto's eyes. I'll say it now, if I put my techniques on you, it's over. Give up immediately. I'm going to end this quickly. Naruto, to his surprise, started laughing. Clearly, you don't know me, asking me to give up like that. I'm telling you this. Give up. You don't stand a chance against me. Last match, begin. Hayate announced, and Tsurugi was quick to move. He immediately came at Naruto with a right hook, which was easily blocked by Naruto's left arm. Naruto blinked. What the? He started, but got no further as Tsurugi's arm started stretching, wrapping itself around his arm. Then, within seconds, his whole body was engulfed in an elastic bear hug, courtesy of Tsurugi, who came up from behind, arms wrapped around arms and legs wrapped around legs. Then, Tsurugi's arm moved away from Naruto's right and wrapped itself around his neck. In order to gather information, my body has been altered to be able to fit into any space. Tsurugi informed Naruto, obviously smirking behind his veil. So, I can keep squeezing until I break your bones. If you don't give up, I'll keep squeezing harder. I don't know what kind of ninja tools you use, but you can't do anything like this. But try something funny, and I won't wait until you give up. I'll break your neck immediately. Hurry up and give up. The Konoha teams in the stands were staring in horror as they clearly could hear Naruto's bones creaking. Team 8 and 10 turned to Team 7, only to see them smirking. Then, they looked down at Naruto, seeing him break into a smirk as well. Well, rubber boy, Naruto said, struggling to keep his windpipe from getting crushed. You obviously don't know who you're fucking with, he roared and extended every single blade on his body. The knee blades, the shin blades, and the blades on his forearm, each of them piercing Tsurugi's rubber-like appendages. Tsurugi roared in pain, and was about to break Naruto's neck, when the former blonde ripped his left arm free from Tsurugi's grasp and moved to punch the rubber man, only for his claws to shoot out, piercing the Mont's face, killing him instantly. Naruto took a deep breath as the now limp Mont's hold on his neck loosened, and he retracted all of his blades, letting Tsurugi fall to the ground. Leaning his head to the side, he heard some satisfying cracks from his neck and rubbed it. Thank Kami. I thought I'd have to go see Chio again, he muttered to himself. Hayate coughed. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. Hayate announced and coughed into his hand, before continuing. Well, with this, the preliminary trials for the third test has been completed. Everyone, please come down here. The genins got down from the stands, and soon stood in front of Anko, Ibiki and Hayate. To all of you who won the rights to compete in the third test in the Chunin exam, even though one is missing, congratulations to you all. Hayate exclaimed, before turning to Sarutobi. Well then, Hokage-sama, if you would please. Yes, Sarutobi said and walked forward. Well, now I'd like to start explaining the main test. As I told you before, in the main event, your matches will be seen by everybody. Each of you will fight to represent the strengths of your countries. I'd like you to show off all your powers with no reserves. Which is why the finals will be held 1 month from now. This break, as you might call it, will be for preparations. What does that mean? Neji asked, his face still that stoic Hyuga face. In other words, in addition to informing all the various country lords and shinobi leaders, this is the time needed to arrange for the gathering of the event. And this is also preparation time for you examination students. I don't understand what you're trying to say. What does it mean? Dosu asked. Basically, it's the preparation to get to know your enemy and yourself. It's the time period where you calculate your chances of winning by analyzing the data you accumulated during the trial competition. Sarutobi explained, puffing on his pipe. The battles up to now had you fight as if you were in an actual combat situation with the assumption of fighting an unknown opponent. However, the final trial will not be like this. There are those who showed all that they can do already to their rivals. There are those who competed and were badly injured against a strong opponent. To make everything fair, the 1 month should be used by all of you to advance and improve yourselves. Of course, it'll be fine to rest your body as well. Well, I'd like yo dismiss you now, but there's something that has to be done for the finals before I can do that. Oh, come on, you old monkey. Naruto exclaimed, groaning. We've been here for a good long time, and we want to go home. Sarutobi chuckled lightly. Well now, don't get so excited. There are pieces of paper inside of the box that Anko is holding, so each of you take one piece. Anko held up a square box to show the genin what the old man was talking about. Now, I'll come around, so wait your turn. All the genins reached into the box as it was handed to them and drew their numbers. Once they'd announced them, Sarutobi spoke up. Alright, now I'll reveal to you the final tournament. That's what we drew the numbers for. Naruto asked, wide-eyed. Now, Ibiki, show them the match arrangements. Yes, sir. Ibiki said and held up a piece of paper. First match. Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji. Second match. Sabaku no Gaara vs Uchiha Sasuke. Third match. Rock Lee vs Aburame Shino. Fourth match. Sabaku no Tamari vs Kinuta Dosu vs Nara Shikamaru. Well then, you're free to start planning strategies or resting as you like. With this, I'll dismiss you all, but are there any final questions? Sarutobi asked, and Shikamaru raised his hand. Can I ask a question? Yes. Since it's a tournament, it would mean that there's only one winner, right? Which would mean that only one person can become a Chunin, doesn't it? No, that's not quite it. Sarutobi spoke, smirking. There will be judges, including myself, the Case Cage, lords of various countries that will make mission requests and other ninja leaders, who will be watching the final test. Throughout the tournament, these judges will be evaluating your abilities. Those judged to have the necessary qualities of a Chunin will be able to become a Chunin, even if they lose in their first match. That means that it's a possibility that everyone here will become a Chunin? Yes, but there's also the possibility that no one will become Chunin. To advance in the tournament means that you will have more chances to appeal to the judges. Did you understand, Shikamaru-kun? Sarutobi asked, and Naruto had to speak up. So, if you win the tournament, you get nothing? He asked, scratching his head. Other than the bragging rights, you get nothing? Correct. That blows. Well then, thanks for all the effort you exerted for these trials. You're all dismissed until a month from now. Sarutobi announced, and Shikamaru and Naruto felt a hand on their shoulders. They looked up to find Kakashi smiling at them. Congratulations, you two. Come on, we'll go to the hospital, get Kiba, and then, I'll treat you all to ramen. Sweet. Done.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.